Welcome to Switzerland. Did you know that our country is not just a great place to visit, but also your first-class business location? We are centrally located in Europe and we have the world's best infrastructure. Oh, and the train is always on time, so let's take a journey. Did you know that Switzerland has 4 official languages? Ja? No? Forse? Decidia? Don't worry, we also have excellent English skills. However, we don't spend all day chatting. We love to work. In 2012, we could have voted for longer holidays, and we voted against them. It's crazy, isn't it? But we're not crazy. Our economy and government are among the world's most stable. That, combined with our outstanding talent pool and a deregulated labor market, makes Switzerland the most innovative and competitive nation in the world. Our Swiss dual education system provides an excellent mix of both vocational education and apprenticeships. Now let's take a look at industry. Maybe Germany, the United States, and China are well known for their industrial output. But did you know that Swiss industrial production per capita beats all of them? Sorry, guys. Our country is small, but hey, 3 Swiss companies are among the global top 20 most valuable companies. Furthermore, we offer the best quality of life. That's why 3 Swiss cities are among the world's best for the highest quality of living. In addition, Switzerland is one of the happiest nations on the globe. Perhaps because we eat on average 12 kilograms of chocolate per year? Switzerland is the best location for innovation, has stable political, economic, and financial conditions, has the highest living standard, and welcomes your business. So tell us now, when will you invest in Switzerland? Switzerland Global Enterprise, enabling new business. Find out more at s-ge.com.
Karnataka has the right ingredients of all that it takes to build a very advanced biotech ecosystem.
Any road that leads out of Bangalore, or for that matter into Bangalore, is actually there is a biotechnology hub.
The ecosystem in Karnataka, especially in Bangalore, is very, very industry friendly for biotechnology. We have high-class research institutes, whether it is the Indian Institute of Science, or whether it is the NCBS, or is the Agriculture Sciences University, or the IBAB.
The Bangalore Life Sciences Cluster is present at the University of Agricultural Sciences campus, and it's primarily made up of 3 institutions: the National Center for Biological Sciences, the Institute for Stem Cell Biology and Regenerative Medicine, and the Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms called CCAP. Together, they become an outstanding intellectual hub.
The uniqueness of the Bangalore Helix is the presence of academic institutions like IBAB, Center for Human Genetics, as well as the Bangalore Innovation Center.
IBAB is a first of its kind institute involved in training and combined with biotech students in cutting edge areas of bioinformatics, and it is involved in incubating young companies and helping entrepreneurs in these areas.
The breadth and the depth of the skill base that is available here. I don't think there is any other city in India which has systematically, over the past 30 years, built up such a broad base of people who, in all areas of biotechnology.
So whether it is molecular and cellular biology, whether it is genetics and genomics, whether it is high-end IT and big data analytics, or whether it is high-end engineering and bioprocessing and biomanufacturing, Karnataka has it all.
The Karnataka biofuel program is very unique. It empowers the rural community. It strengthens the agricultural activity in the rural areas. It generates a whole lot of employment through value addition activities in the rural areas.
One of the benefits of our strand virtual liver based approach to studying toxicity is that it actually minimizes or even eliminates in some cases the use of animal models, and therefore in where you do not want to have animal testing and yet want to understand the toxicity of molecules. This is perhaps one of the few options available.
The Center for Human Genetics is trying to fill this niche area, which is a highly demanding area, because under one institutional framework you need to have both medical specialists as well as basic scientists working together and complementing each other's skills.
We have got lots of scientists and doctors who are able to provide high-class care for these patients who have got extremely rare disorders. This has been possible because of our partnership with the biotech industry, which has helped us in providing enzyme replacement therapy to the patients and also the special foods that some of these rare disorders require.
The cancer care has undergone a radical change in the last 5 years. From evidence-based medicine, we have come to personalized medicine. And this has happened mainly because of better understanding of the disease, better understanding of the gene makeup, and better therapy on an individual basis suited to that based on their genetic expression and the biomarker expression. So this will revolutionize cancer care, and we in India, particularly in Bangalore being the hub, can truly become leaders, global leaders in the genomic therapy of oncology.
Karnataka has supported us in this journey for the past 30 years by providing us the conducive climate to do business here in India, and we have succeeded.
The kind of work that we do involves a lot of collaboration. And in Bangalore, we have found really the kind of collaborations, whether it's with big companies or smaller companies, who which really are very relevant for our kind of work.
The strengths which IBAB gave us was the laboratory space, necessary infrastructure needed for a startup biotechnology company, and actually mentorship, which is more needed in this field.
IBAB offers also several other benefits like a wealth of very talented young people that we can choose from, interns, and also great infrastructure that the institute provides.
Sistering is an early stage startup. We are developing an innovative solution to take waste, organic waste particularly, to biodegradable plastics. We've really built the team and the product at a remarkable speed over the last year, and the intellectual environment that Bangalore provides for a startup such as ours.
There are more and more entrepreneurs coming, and as the ecosystem grows with all the components already in place, any entrepreneur today finds it very easy to come and set up his operations here, and there is mentorship available, other business-friendly policies, the ambience is there, and so I see a very bright future for Karnataka's biotechnology industry.
The government of Karnataka decided to set up an autonomous vision group for biotechnology, which was an optimal blend of academia, industry and the government. The harmony and the alignment that these three groups of people have had at this vision group has really enabled us to come out with some of the most pragmatic policies in biotechnology, the required investments in biotechnology from the government, which has really allowed us to take a unstinted leadership position.
The state has come out with always business-friendly policies, and in and around Bangalore there are a number of higher education institutions which provide the talent pool for such industries or enterprises.
Investing in quality foundations in science and technology is vital so that you're prepared for whatever change the world brings about, and so you can grab that change and do well.
Ideas need entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need startups. And startups need a robust ecosystem to emerge as an unicorn. This ecosystem is what makes Karnataka the innovation and technology hub of India. Government of Karnataka supports startups right from offering physical space to setting up of incubation in partnership with NASSCOM, IAMAI bodies with state-of-the-art facilities, amenities and support services. mentorship by industry leaders and domain experts to advanced tools for testing, instrumentation, industry connects, investor connects and global connects, filing patents and protecting ideas, to providing mentoring support and brand development assistance. The government of Karnataka has come in to assist budding companies through every hurdle and provide all kinds of resources across all its physical infrastructure. With dedicated facilities and state-of-the-art infrastructure all under one roof, exclusively for IT and BT startups. But only physical space is not enough to house 8,000 startups. Karnataka is also the first state in India to come up with sector-specific policies and adapt a framework for innovation engagements at a global level with countries from around the world to assist solve a collective need for nations world over. A space where this all comes together is the Bengaluru Tech Summit, a conference that brings together innovators, startups, investors, government, policy makers, academia to foster collaborations, co-creation, co-innovation and co-invention. Some of the largest companies in the world have set up their own incubation centers in the city of Bengaluru. Not only is Bengaluru one of the easiest places to find skilled team members for a startup, it is deemed as the startup capital of India with more new startups incubated here than anywhere else in the country. To give a thrust to the emerging sectors and sunshine technologies, the state government, through a joint initiative with corporates and MIT, has established multiple centers of excellence to boost the accelerator support to the entire startup ecosystem. In addition to the COEs, the government of Karnataka is supporting establishment of 5 technology business incubators in institutions of higher learning with well-developed R&D facilities to foster a strong link between R&D and commercialization of technologies developed. And the city is home to 14 of India's 33 unicorns and 20 soonicorns, which is highest in the country. Bengaluru leads in the startup race when it comes to the number of funding deals, with Bengaluru-based companies having raised $2,436 million in the first half of 2020. The drive to grow and innovate is not restricted to Bengaluru alone. It goes beyond Bengaluru to meet this growing entrepreneurial spirit in the state and to nurture innovation at district level. The government of Karnataka has set up New Age Innovation Networks, NAIN, in the emerging clusters. NAIN envisages and encourages student entrepreneurship at a grassroots level, while also setting up R&D labs and common instrumentation facilities in cities across the state, including Mysuru, Hubballi, Dharwad, Belagavi and Bagalkote. Additionally, the state has set up 5 common prototyping or instrumentation facilities in Jalhalli, Mysuru, Mangaluru, Shivamogga and Belagavi, fueling the startup ecosystem through innovation hubs in Tier 2 cities, thus empowering hardware startups across the state. The government of Karnataka is the only state supporting early stage startups by Idea to POC or Elevate Grant in Aid to identify innovative startups across the state and elevate them to the next level. Elevate Unnati is an Idea to POC grant in aid for startups promoted exclusively by SC/ST entrepreneurs of the state. For social innovation, Karnataka uses a model of grand challenges to focus attention and effort on specific problems. The government has tied up with Catalyst for Women Entrepreneurship for promoting entrepreneurship among women. Kitwen Fund focused on encouraging entrepreneurship in the state, promising startups in need more than capital or financial backing to succeed. The government also incentivizes startups through reimbursement of GST, marketing incentives, patent filing costs, and provides booster kit in form of web credits. Between the schemes, policies, partnerships and alliances, Karnataka is geared to grow faster than ever. the state is also ready to establish an AI and robotics technology park and creating a digital economy mission to leverage the 500 plus R&D centers to retain Karnataka's position as a leader in innovation-led economic growth. The state also launches a first-of-its-kind sector-agnostic regulatory sandbox for promoting upcoming technologies. The government of Karnataka is also planning a new and renewed startup policy in 2021 that will establish Karnataka as a power player in India's growth as a global innovation leader. After all, startups without an ecosystem are just entrepreneurs with ideas. And our startups are fully backed by the government ecosystem that fuel the innovative spirits of the entrepreneurs and risk appetite angel investors and VCs.
Odisha is taking many initiatives for industrial growth in the state and has turned out to be a preferred investment destination in the country. The major investors in the state are NTPC, MCL, Tata Steel, TCS, Adani, JSPL, PPL, IOCL and many more. More than 300 companies have invested and the state has received investment worth more than 5 lakh crore. Major investment sectors are IT, fertilizer, petrochemicals, food processing, health, infrastructure, ESDM, metal and minerals, manufacturing, textile and tourism. We are aware that Indian biotech industry is likely to experience significant growth on the back of increasing economic prosperity, health consciousness and billion plus population base. Odisha is now single-mindedly focused on building a successful startup ecosystem to facilitate the biotech industry. The State Industrial Policy Regulation 2015, IPR 2015, recognizes biotech sector as a priority sector and extends all the fiscal incentives, special incentives and other support measures to the biotechnology sector. In such cases, the industrial unit can choose to avail a particular incentive under this policy or the sectoral policy like agriculture policy, food processing policy, MSME policy, startup policy, SEJ policy, etc. Odisha has also come out with a biotech policy in 2018 which assures incentives at par with IPR 2015 and also supports biotech R&D ecosystems through supporting biotech incubation centers of excellence and also by supporting early stage funding like immersion fellowship and bioinnovation grants. The state has set up Industry Infrastructure Development Fund with an initial corpus of 100 crore. The IIFDF will be utilized for development of quality infrastructure such as roads, power, water, waste management, etc. Government of Odisha has partnered with Bharat Biotech to establish a biotechnology park at Bhubaneswar. An incubation center has also come up at ILS Bhubaneswar with the support of Government of Odisha as well as Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Odisha possesses a unique model of connecting academics, industries, R&D institutions and startups. At the same time, the unique bioresource in the field of agriculture and biomaterials in Odisha, particularly in the tribal areas as well as large marine and coastal region of the state, also will enable value addition and product development through biotechnology applications. Odisha, with its bioresources and Bhubaneswar as state capital with large number of scientific institutions will enable academician collaborations with potential industries and will engage the trained human resources for the purpose. I hope with cooperation from potential investors, Odisha will definitely develop into a preferred investment destination in the biotech sector and contribute to better lives and livelihoods. Thanks you all.
In healthcare, a vast ecosystem is helping therapy innovators become more patient-centric and more effective than ever before. Cytiva supports researchers, biopharma, and clinicians in the pursuit of more targeted treatments. In discovery, speed and accuracy are everything. The faster and smarter researchers can work, the more patients benefit. To ensure that new, more targeted therapies become reality, we're equipping biomanufacturers with the tools and expertise they need to produce cost-effectively and quickly. How can tens of thousands of individualized patient doses be manufactured quickly, efficiently, and securely? The answer, with a healthy dose of expertise and innovation. We're creating processes and solutions that are scalable and address complex needs. We work to deliver diagnostic tools and other technologies to bring the right therapy to the right patient at the right time, so that life-saving medicines come within the reach of more people and could save more lives. Cell culture, protein purification, biomarker imaging and analysis, It may not be what most think about when envisioning the future of healthcare, but this is what we do. Our part in changing the world. Advancing and accelerating. Discovery, manufacturing, diagnostics, future therapeutics.
The road to regulatory compliance is long and filled with choices. With a combination of standards, process, and service, USP can help guide your path to compliant, quality products. Trust the standard that sets the benchmark for medicines. Our robust and collaborative scientific process is part of our comprehensive approach. We offer reference standards that are tied to USP monographs to help you minimize risk and enhance your confidence in compliance. Reduce time and resources spent developing in-house standards and streamline your path to regulatory compliance. We work with independent, volunteer scientific experts who rigorously review and approve our standards, which undergo testing by USP and other laboratories around the world. Ongoing testing of our standards helps ensure the quality of your product over time. And only USP reference standards are linked to official USP NF monographs that provide specifications for the identity, purity, and potency to meet FDA requirements without further in-house qualification and the needs of our global customers. With USP, you have access to our in-house scientific experts to guide you every step of the way. In addition to our best-in-class USP reference standards, we offer training, education, and other services. Our online resources help smooth your path to regulatory compliance. Our standards provide precise testing and validation guidelines, as well as reference samples for testing. Drugs can be made consistently every time. We are more than reference standards. We provide a unique combination of standards, process, and service. From buying to applying standards, we support your bottom line with reference standards that have been rated best in class by our customers. Talk with us to find out how we can help you navigate your journey to regulatory compliance. Contact USP at usp.org.
So can we over to you to please get started.
सर लोग हैं
Honorable Ministers, dignitaries, and ladies and gentlemen.
Over to you to please get started.
इसमें से ये हो गए
Can you clear the field, please? Please tell me when to start. Huh? Hanji? Honorable Ministers, dignitaries, and ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. On behalf of the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, and our partners, Confederation of Indian Industry, Association of Biotechnology-led Enterprises and Invest India, it is our proud privilege to welcome you all to Global Bio India 2021. We are honored to have with us today Honorable Union Minister for Science and Technology, Health and Family Welfare and Earth Sciences, Dr. Harshvardhan, as our guest of honor, and Honorable Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, as our chief guest today. May I now request Dr. Renu Swarup, Secretary DPT, for her opening address and welcome to this exciting event.
A very good evening to all of you. Honorable Minister for Health, Family Welfare, Science, Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Harshvardhan ji. We are awaiting the arrival of our Honorable Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji, who will be joining us in a short while. Distinguished guests, speakers, delegates, our startups, researchers, industry partners, students, it is a matter of great pride and happiness to welcome you all today for this inauguration of the Global Bio India 2021. When we met in 2019, the event witnessed a lot of vibrancy and energy with more than 3,000 delegates in the Delhi Aerocity ground. Today, we have more than 6,000 delegates. In fact, I'm told the number is still increasing from 50 countries, 10 state governments, more than these 6,000 startups who have engaged with us through different events, the industry and the research groups attending. We can feel this vibrancy, although virtually. Honorable Minister, sir, it gives me great pleasure to inform you that when we last met in 2019, from then till now, tremendous progress has been made and we have witnessed both challenges and opportunities. The year 2020 has been defined by a single word, and that is COVID-19. This pandemic brought to us unprecedented challenges, not only to our country, but globally. At the same time, for the biotechnology sector, it was a moment of reckoning. It provided us with great opportunities to unleash the full potential of innovation capacities and to tackle this pandemic. The biotechnology sector took the pandemic in its stride and has come out stronger, providing confidence to the society in our country's innovation ecosystem strength. Just when this robust ecosystem, which was built in the country over those last few years through an enabling policy framework and the government's various initiatives, was beginning to show the desired growth plan, the pandemic struck. This was taken up as an opportunity by our vibrant biotech ecosystem, and all the stakeholders collectively responded to this clarion call of the Honorable Prime Minister of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. In our fight against COVID, the success story from diagnostics, 100% import to 100% self-sufficiency in less than 3 months, our vaccines, all developed in less than a year with 2 emergency use authorizations, the vaccination begun, which we all know. All this also because of the special focus that we got under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package with the Mission COVID Suraksha, our biorepositories, the National Genome Sequencing Consortia, therapeutics, monoclonals. We excelled in all these areas. But what we greatly excelled in was the collaborations, the convergence of all of them together. Sir, the country's bioeconomy size has grown more than 12.3% in 2020, sir. And it has reached 70.2 billion. The bioeconomy in 2019, which was just 62.5%, to 62.5 billion, is now moving towards achieving the growth which we expect for $150 billion by 2025. The share of the bioeconomy in the GDP has also been rising, and we hope that with this sustained growth, with the sustained innovation ecosystem, we will be able to see this happening. So you are aware, and as are all our delegates, our dignitaries from various countries, the more than 50 countries who are with us today, have all been partners in this collaboration that we've taken forward. What we've been able to do for the COVID times, sir, whether it's setting up of the MBRIC to provide the diagnostics, the PPs, the ventilators, or our vaccine program. There have also been support systems that have been created to try and ease out the regulatory systems, to eliminate various hurdles which are there within the infrastructure development, and to speeden up the research and innovation is something that we would like to see going beyond the COVID. I'm very happy to inform you that the government, labs, the universities, the industry, they all came together. And those initial hesitancies that we saw in terms of collaboration were all put on one side to get to the COVID solutions. We are also hoping that this innovation-led entrepreneurship, which has continued despite the pandemic, will grow to a much greater height as we move on. In the last year itself, sir, I'm pleased to inform you that more than 840 biotech startups were set up in the last year itself, despite the pandemic. This takes our total number to more than 4,000. It is 4,237 to be precise, and this will be released in a report, sir, during this Global Bio India. Of course, as expected, 61% of these are in the biomedical segment, including the biopharma, medical technologies, and diagnostics. From scalability to sustainability, we have, in fact, over this year, got over 500 new ideas which have been supported, and more than 1,000 of the startups which have been supported have been valued for more than 3,500 crores. Today's DBT with BIRAC, under your able leadership, sir, have tried to see how this successful innovation ecosystem can work along with all other stakeholders. This COVID pandemic, we could respond so quickly, as I said, because of the wonderful foundation that we've set. The National Biopharma Mission, which was launched by you in 2018, sir, which is with the collaboration of the World Bank, has today been the basis and the foundation for scaling up this whole effort of ours towards COVID. Moving forward, we are looking at working towards the 150 billion bioeconomy. This network that we've established of knowledge translation clusters, creating up technology clusters, which, sir, you will be releasing in the strategy very shortly, based on the report that we had from the expert group and through public consultations. Gives me great pleasure, sir, once again, to to welcome you, to thank you for all your leadership and guidance, to welcome each of our delegates. We look forward to these 3 days, and we hope that the Global Bio India gives us an opportunity, of course, to connect virtually, and through this identify new ideas for startups, but also help us to design a well laid out roadmap which will help us to achieve this $150 billion economy. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your opening address and warm welcome. We now have a short film on Global Bio India for our gathering today.
Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India and its public sector undertaking Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, BIRAC, are organizing the second edition of Global Bio India from 1st to 3rd March 2021 on digital platform. The first edition in 2019 at AeroCity, New Delhi was a huge success with participation from over 25 plus countries, 190 exhibitors, 2,500 plus delegates, 300 plus startups, 50 plus incubators, 60 plus research institutes, 800 plus business meetings scheduling and representation from 9 states. India offers a unique destination as an innovation hub and biomanufacturing hub for the world. Large talent pool, growing capacities for frugal innovation and manufacturing of affordable, globally competent products and technologies in healthcare, agriculture and allied area, food and nutrition, waste to value, sanitation and clean energy solutions. Biotechnology sector is recognized as the sunrise sector that would have multiplier cascading impact on achieving India's USD 5 trillion economy target by 2024. Government of India initiatives reiterates the significance of biotechnology sector as the sunshine sector. Global Bio India 2021, the largest bio event, would showcase India's biotech sector strength and opportunities at global level. Global Bio India 2021 is expected to draw around 5,000 plus delegates from across the globe. Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, along with its autonomous institutes, has been at the forefront in the nation's fight against COVID-19. The tableau, India Fights COVID, by Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, showcasing significant contribution of biotechnology sector in the development of vaccine, under Make in India mission, India is now gearing up to become innovation hub and biomanufacturing hub for India and for the world. This happens to be the most exciting time to host Global Bio India 2021, India's largest biotech event. Led by DBT and BIRAC in partnership with CII, ABLE and Invest India. Together, we can transform billions of lives worldwide. Join us on the biotech journey. Global Bio India 2021. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed that snapshot of the Indian biotech industry and of Global Bio India. I now request Shri Chandrajit Banerjee ji, Director General of the Confederation of Indian Industry, to please deliver his address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Minister for Health, Family Welfare, Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Harshavardhan ji, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Renu Swarup, Secretary DBT, and several important dignitaries who are gathered here for this huge conference. It's great to be a part of this, one of the largest biotechnology stakeholder platform. And we indeed have a very, very topical theme today, transforming lives, biosciences to bioeconomy. We all know that 2020 was an unprecedented year for nations across the world, and it was a time when we all had to realign, rethink, reimagine our growth opportunities. India has indeed done well, handling the huge challenges, and one of the star leaders of handling these challenges is present with us here today. And indeed a proud privilege to have had this opportunity of leadership, Dr. Harshavardhanji, of your great leadership that one saw India dealing with this huge challenge of the pandemic and dealing with it so very well. And your cooled demeanor, your very such great handling was a source of great comfort to millions of citizens. And today, as we roll out to a larger population, to have you on that day itself is indeed a great pleasure and privilege. And my congratulations to you on behalf of many of us, all of us, for leading this so very ably. And congratulations to the government also, and compliments to you, and thank you very much for really keeping us all safe by and large. And we see the country is in able hands, both from the side of the livelihoods as well as on the sides of the lives. And it's a matter of great pride that India, true to its promise of being a pharmacy to the world, has successfully begun the countrywide vaccination exercise, while also supporting other nations in need by way of supplying indigenously developed vaccines. Biotechnology is indeed in the forefront of the technology, innovation, and creativity, which are rapidly redefining the global economy. And from CII, we are indeed very happy to collaborate and work with the Ministry of Science and Technology, and of course the BIRAC, in organizing and working towards organizing this very important forum today. Once again, I'd really like to thank the Honorable Minister for actually blessing this very important forum. A bio-based economy is most critical vehicle to reach the circular economy through sustainable development. And from the industry, from CII, we have been an advocate for this for a very long time. And as we are aware, the biopharma segment has alone contributed. Dr. Renu Sharma spoke about it. Dr. Renu Swarup spoke about it. This segment alone actually contributes to more than 60% share of the total bioeconomy by value. That was a figure of 2019. And also the Indian pharma industry, along with the biotechnology, has the potential to grow hugely, easily up to 200 billion by 2025. And from CII, we have been recommending the need for infrastructure, environmental clearances, and need for incentives for the API industry. And already we have initiated some of these by ways of developing critical white paper on API advantage for India and expanding its focus to forging partnerships between industry and academia. With the bioagri being the second largest contributor to a bioeconomy, which is employing close to 40% of the population and contributing close to about 15% to the gross value added, the sector remains very crucial to the overall stability of the Indian economy. And I just wanted to mention that CII, we are working on upgradation of rural hearts to Gramin agricultural markets, the GRAMs, that are envisaged to work as primary aggregation points for farmers, where they can sell their products directly to the consumers or bulk buyers, retailers, or processors. And we have actually, as an institution, CII, have also aligned our agenda with the government's vision of doubling farmers' incomes, and we're working through a multi-stakeholder sort of an approach, and a circular economy adopted in agriculture that really would prevent episodes of things like what we took today, talk about things like air pollution and so on and so forth. Support for examining such possibilities, we are providing that from CII through our center, one of the centers of excellence, which is the Food and Agriculture Center, across the India's food systems. And our companies are already promoting a landscape approach to minimize farming impacts on nature. More and more agri companies are building capacity on sustainable farming practices that really support biodiversity conservation and livelihood enhancement. I also wanted to highlight that again, from the industry, from CII, we commissioned a report on Indian biotechnology agriculture industry vision 2025 to define the industry's vision for 2025. And there are three critical comments or recommendations which we have included. One is laying out the role of various biotechnologies in solving the agricultural challenges faced by the country. Second, forming single regulatory authority to govern all bioagricultural domains falling under various ministries. And thirdly, of course, facilitating pooling of private investments for effective R&D utilization. Let me just touch upon on one other important point, that's the water bodies that support the Indian blue economy. We all know that this the second largest fish producer in the world we are today. So what we have suggested for some steps to be taken urgently towards strengthening domestic contribution in the aquaculture sector. So one of the things that we are talking about is strengthen cold supply chain facilities for movement and storage of product. The second, building rail-based hub infrastructure to handle fresh, chilled products and transport via trains. And thirdly, introduction of fish marks under the FSSAI to ensure the quality of the product. So to convert India into a bioeconomy, a nationally and internationally appropriate enabling environment that must be created that can cover the production, use, and trading of biomass, ensuring that the relevant processes are sustainable and fair. So to that effect, CII would really be very keen to support the developments of such platforms of multi-stakeholder collaborations. Today, through our various delivery mechanisms and structure, we would be really keen to support a trickle down of elements of a circular economy to all our stakeholders and enhance its uptake across the country. Centers of excellence, which are focused on sustainability or green or water, they have all initiated work on different elements related to circular economy. And the support and the guidance from the ministry and the minister would be of great value to taking this forward. Our relationships with a variety of trade and business agencies across the globe can also provide the platform for increased collaboration and innovation, which is required in the circular economy ecosystem. I'd really like to conclude by reiterating that there is so much of opportunity, immense opportunity, in fact, for the country to claim its position as a global leader in bioeconomy with opportunities for its citizens at all levels and geographies. And bioeconomy is one of the ways the country can deliver for its people, helping to feed, heal, and provide new clean sources of energy. So we will be very honored to be a part of this very important initiative and journey, and would like to work with the government and with the ministry and with the Honorable Minister's leadership to making this really a reality and taking this forward. I really look forward to the deliberations in the days ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. May I now request Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, Chairperson and Managing Director, Biocon, an association of biotechnology-led enterprises, able for her thoughts on the industry perspective. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, and Honorable Minister Shri Harshvardhan ji, our mentor and partner, Dr. Renu Swarup ji from DBT, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, my good friends Junaid, Ahmed and Vidyasagar, and other dignitaries, guests and all those watching this webinar, which I think is a very important webinar because it celebrates the second edition of Global Bio India at a time when the world actually celebrates the many successes of the biotechnology sector worldwide. The phrase bioeconomy was coined because of the impact biosciences has on the world. We have seen the impact of biosciences and biotechnology on disease control. And let me also say that beyond disease, which of course is one of the biggest growth drivers of this sector, we are also perceiving the immense importance of biotechnology when it comes to agriculture in terms of food and feed production. Renewable energy is also relying a lot on the powers of biosciences to generate green power. And we also are looking at environmental sustainability with a huge help from biotechnology. I think when you look at the huge impact that biosciences and biotechnology have on the world economy, it is no wonder that India too is pursuing a very important strategy of creating a $150 billion sector in the very near future. Now, ABLE has actually worked very closely with the DBT to arrive at what would be the main growth triggers of this sector. Of course, as you heard from Mr. Banerjee, the biopharma sector has a huge role to play, and as you have very well seen, the vaccine sector itself has actually demonstrated the power of this technology to basically deal with a pandemic that could have actually that has impacted the world economy and that could have destroyed much more had it not been for the scientific intellect to come up with vaccines that could take on this virus. Going beyond this, of course, biotechnology has supported this pandemic through diagnostics, through drugs and medicines and what have you. And I think the world ahead has to focus on biotechnology as a means to understand diseases better. We will be able to basically understand viral diseases better and the way they spread. So whether it is about surveillance, whether it is about genomic mapping of viruses, or whether it is developing vaccines and drugs to counter viruses, I think biology is going to be a very important area for India to focus on. Apart from that, of course, we also have to focus on non-communicable diseases. And I think in that, again, India has a huge opportunity in manufacturing and other aspects of discovery and development. I would like to really take this opportunity to focus on one very important area, and that is on research and innovation. As you have heard repeatedly in the recent past, India accounts for 60% of global vaccine production by volume. India accounts for generic manufacturing globally in terms of 20% by volume. But when it comes to value capture, it is only 3%. And I think this has to be corrected. And the only way it can be corrected is by investing in research and innovation. We must basically bring new vaccines and new drugs and new diagnostics and new medical devices to the world markets in a way that basically generates high value IP and high value contribution to what we are doing in terms of research and innovation. And in this, I would like to propose that just as the government has introduced the PLI scheme, which is the production linked incentive scheme, I do believe we need an RLI or a research-led incentive scheme. And I think in this, we must also make sure that the incentive scheme also covers academia. Because I think academia has a very important role to play in discovery. And I think we must realize and recognize the fact that all the vaccines that we're talking about today have come out of academic research labs or small startups, which have actually been born out of academic institutions. So whether it is the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines that came out of biotech startups, or whether it is the Oxford vaccine that came out of Oxford University and then licensed to AstraZeneca, we must recognize the strength of academic research. And we must encourage Indian industry to partner with academia. And of course, we must invest in ensuring that academia also delivers on its potential of discovery, research, and innovation. So there's a lot to be done. And I, for one, believe that we can have an RLI scheme that focuses on moonshots. What are these moonshots? We must identify 5 or 6 areas where we want to really catch up and deliver on cutting-edge areas. So whether it is, vaccines and novel vaccines and novel medicines, whether it is, cell and gene therapy, whether it is drugs and diagnostics for rare diseases, whether it is, AI-led, digital technologies that deliver cutting-edge medical devices, whether it is drug delivery systems, or new formulation technologies, we have to identify those areas, invest in those areas, incentivize that research, and that research should be incentivized both within industry and academia, and the research incentives can be augmented if there is an industry academia partnership. So that is my view of how we can actually get to this $150 billion target sooner than what we anticipate. This can be done not just in the area of pharmaceuticals, this can be done in the area of agriculture, this can be done in the area of renewable energy. As you know, battery storage is a big problem when it comes to renewable energy. And in that, I think again biotechnology has a huge role to play in terms of generating biological batteries, which can be very, very interesting as a cutting edge technology. So Bio-IT is another huge area, and I think Bio-IT, when it comes to the omics, which is about genomics and proteomics and metabolomics, all this requires huge data science capabilities, which India has, fortunately. We need data scientists, we need data analytics, we need high levels of computing power, and quantum computing in biology is becoming a very important area, and India should be right there. We believe that we should not lose our leadership position in many of these areas. I think many countries are gaining huge, fillip in terms of biotechnology. Korea, which started very late, has suddenly captured 40% of the global biopharmaceutical manufacturing because the government very, very systematically and consistently invested over 1 decade into biopharmaceutical manufacturing. India must also do the same because we already have the foundation laid for biomanufacturing, and we must actually build on that. Today, as I said, Korea accounts for 40% of the biomanufacturing in the world. Why can't we do the same? We can actually even overtake Korea if we need to. Now look at China. China has actually, in terms of the numbers of patents filed annually, is overtaken the US because of the huge amount of investment it has made in research and innovation. I think India needs to definitely invest in research and innovation in its academic laboratories, in its private laboratories, etc., etc. Indian industry today is spending only 6% of its revenues on research and innovation. It ought to be at 16% because most innovative companies in the world spend 20%. 16% is where we should be. In order to augment that investment to 10%, we need incentives. Indian companies do not have the deep pockets to invest in augmenting research to such a level. I think the government can be a huge enabler through these incentive programs to help Indian industry to innovate and catch up with the rest of the world. If India wants to be a leader, if India wants to be a global leader in all that it does in biotechnology, we will have to seriously invest in research, innovation, manufacturing, and of course, accessing capital, global markets with a sense of determination and capabilities. And in this, of course, skill development is also going to be a very, very important part. I think we have the raw material, the raw talent with which to build the specialized skills. And I, for one, believe that we actually can do that in a very short period of time. So I would like to basically end this my comments by saying this is a very important and exciting time for India. It is ours to lose. If we don't invest, we will lose this golden opportunity. But if we invest in an expeditious manner, we can become globally very significant and very dominant. So with that, I would like to basically again congratulate Dr. Renu Swarup for this second edition of Global Bio India 2021. And although it's a virtual world, although it's a webinar, I'm sure that the impact and objectives that you have set yourselves out with will be achieved through this virtual conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Global Bio India is focused on celebrating and learning from the best and the exemplars among us. As a glimpse of what lies ahead in these 3 days, we now have a virtual showcase of some of the startups supported by DBT and BIRAC who have played an important role in contributing to the growth of the biotech sector. These are Pandarum Technologies Private Limited, String Bio Private Limited, Turtle Shell Technologies Private Limited, Flexmotive Technologies Private Limited, Bugworks Research India Private Limited, Forest Health Private Limited, and ATGC Biotech Private Limited.
Cornea is literally a window to the world. It's the central, circular, transparent path through which light goes inside your eyes. Corneal blindness is one of the top 3 reasons of blindness all around the world. 14 million people are in the waiting list for a corneal transplant.
If I get my sight back, first I'd like to see my parents, see the world, beautiful world.
I would like to travel in the boats. It will be really nice to see other people. I would become a teacher.
Within the next 3 to 6 months, a new cornea will regenerate back. We're in a stage where we are filing our case for a human pilot trial.
Startups and startups particularly based out of technology, they don't have geographical boundaries. We hope that in the near future, thousands if not millions should be able to see again.
The world we know is undergoing rapid transformation. Environment, sustainability, eco-friendly have become critical and an important part of everyday conversations. Growing human population, rising consumer demands, and deteriorating climate have taken center stage. How do we provide adequate food and a sustainable living environment to 9 billion people by 2050? At String Bio, we have developed solutions that not only tackle climate change, but will also provide sustainable ingredients to the world population, humans and animals alike. Our core innovation, String Integrated Methane Platform, called SIM, leverages the power of biology and allows us to use methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, as raw material for producing high commercial value products. These products find applications in food, feed, cosmetics, textile, agriculture, and other industries. Through SIM, we address the growing consumer demand in a viable way that assures performance and reliability. String Bio envisions a world built on simple, sustainable, traceable, and cost-effective value chains. These value chains lower our toll on the environment without compromising our quality of life. We are String Bio, building a better future for this world and for you.
Dozy is India's first contactless remote vitals monitor. Its thin sensor sheet, once placed under the mattress, tracks person's heartbeat, respiration, sleep, blood pressure, and even tiny heart valve movements with medical grade accuracy. Once connected, the vitals can be easily monitored on the smartphone app and on a patient monitoring system. A centralized web dashboard where hundreds of patients can be monitored at once. This is how DOSI is helping hospitals to monitor the entire ward remotely.
We are able to convert our COVID wards into step-down ICU within hours at a fraction of cost with DOSI. It has reduced the workload for both doctor and nurses and also exposure to the infection tremendously. This is because now we are monitoring COVID-19 patients remotely, as DOSI can be combined with SpO2 sensor too.
Hi, I'm Arvind from FlexMotive here, and we make beautiful mobility aids for people, empowering them to go anywhere, be independent without the stigma of being disabled. We started doing this because existing mobility aids are designed primarily for indoor use and quite restrictive in daily activities, leading to low self-esteem and low quality of life. We redesigned the crutches with fresh new looks and all-terrain features, ergonomic grips, and configurability for individual needs. Till now, our 3 products have clocked in 850 sales at 30 plus hospitals, and we're happy to say that 120 wheelchair users have walked with our crutches for the first time in their life since disability. This is our team after we tested their crutches in Himalayan snow. We thank them and our supporting organization.
Namaskar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Global Bio India platform. A big thanks to DBT and BioRack for pulling together such an important platform and for giving an opportunity for Bugworks to talk to you. I'm Anand Kumar, one of the co-founders of Bugworks. We're working on a completely new class of broad-spectrum antibiotic to take out the worst gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria that are causing havoc in our hospitals and communities. India has one of the highest disease load in AMR, and we are hoping that our solutions can help our fellow brothers and sisters, not just in India, but all over the globe. We wish to thank the DBT BioRack for all of their support to companies like Bugworks, starting from the grants that they gave us in our early days to the very incubator, C-Camp Bangalore, where we are based out of. We are deeply thankful for this broad level of support from BioRack and DBT. We are currently entering clinical trials in Australia as a phase 1, and we hope to be back in India for our phase 2 in 2022. And we wish this conference all of the success. Thank you.
The one way to bridge this gap is through wide field imaging and to train non-ophthalmologists, non-physicians to go into the rural areas and take pictures of these at-risk babies in their resident hospitals itself without them having to travel.
India, 6th largest economy in the world, is largely agriculture-driven economy. Major threats for realizing the full potential of productivity is pests and diseases. Indiscriminate use of pesticide by the farmers leads to ecological imbalance, loss of natural enemies, insect resistance, and pesticides residues in food we eat. Realizing the need of bringing eco-friendly green technologies, a Hyderabad-based company called ATGC Biotech, started by 3 young entrepreneurs in 2011 in Genome Valley, India. They bring in innovative solutions for pest management without the use of pesticides, a family planning strategy for insects. They use pheromones as tool, go with the mantra of think beyond monitoring, and use them in auto-confusion and mating disruption strategies. The company grew as area-wide management specialists and today implements $4 million worth pheromone-based control programs.
It has been a great journey taking the green technologies from lab to land by decoding insect communications, develop a smart tool for farmer and disseminate back into the nature. The innovative award-winning technologies is for our future towards making a planet a healthy and better place to live.
Thank you all so much. At this juncture, it is now time for the address by our guest of honor. May I please request the Honorable Union Minister for Science and Technology, Health and Family Welfare and Earth Sciences, Dr. Harshvardhan, to please deliver his address.
She is there, Nirmala ji is there or not?
She's joining momentarily, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Swaroop, Secretary Biotechnology Department. I acknowledge the presence of His Excellency Dr. Ralph Heckner, Ambassador, Embassy of Switzerland in India and Bhutan. His Excellency Mr. Martin van den Berg, Ambassador, Embassy of Netherlands in India, Nepal and Bhutan. And also Mr. Junaid Ahmed, Country Director, World Bank. Dr. Shri Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry. Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shaw, Executive Chairperson, Biocon Limited. Professor M. Vidyasagar, Chair, NBDS Formulation Group. And distinguished Professor IIT Hyderabad. Present with me in the ministry here is also Shri Chandra Prakash Goyal, Joint Secretary, the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Sandeep Sareen, Advisor, Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Manish Rana, Scientist E, Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Vashnesh Singh, Scientist C, Department of Biotechnology. I understand that very senior people and even my colleague, Minister, Honorable Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, Dr. V.K. Paul, and Dr. P.K. Mishra, Shri Rajiv Gauba, they are also expected to join anytime. They have been invited and they had, there is a confidence in our people that they'll be joining very soon. So let me, and there are thousands of people who have joined from all across the world. I'm so happy to be part of this function, and of course on a very, very important day, as Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee also made reference to the developments that have taken place today, because what the countrymen are able to enjoy today, the benefits of vaccination against the COVID virus, it is all because of the contribution of our scientists who have been supported so well by the Department of Biotechnology and of course our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who has blessed all of us all through the fight against COVID and also for the vaccine development, and also by providing a fund of over 900 crores for the COVID Suraksha. And the scientific community, and particularly the biotechnology community, has stood up like, I think it's very difficult to describe the contribution of the scientists. They have done so well, and their performance stands so significantly in front of all other things. The way they have worked hard, the way the scientific community rose to the occasion, the way they produced everything that was required with their help, whether it was the vaccine or the diagnostic kits or the drugs or the various other equipments that were required. This is a moment of great satisfaction for me as a Minister for Science and Technology also. And I would love to remember my great former Prime Minister of India, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, also at this particular moment, because towards the beginning of this century and the millennium, when he was the Prime Minister of the country for 6 years, he brought science to the center stage of Indian politics when he said for the first time that it is not only the Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan, but it also has to be Jai Vigyan. And we never forget that that was the time when there was a huge, bloom in the IT sector. And at that time, he had predicted that India was, at that time, he had said India is with this IT is India today. And for biotechnology, he had said that it is going to be Bharat tomorrow. And this is what we are gradually actually seeing. The way biotechnology sector has grown, I think during the course of these 5-6 years as Science and Technology Minister of my ministry, people used to tell me that we want to be a $100 billion economy by 2025. But during the course of these 5-6 years, they have in fact changed their goal. And it seems they are pretty more confident about achieving their goal. Now they start talking about $150 billion economy by 2025. And as was told that already 70 billion has been achieved. And when I was participant, I have been participant in all my functions in this ministry for almost last 7 years. I remember the great function that was organized last year, in fact, the Global Bio India conference in 2019. And it saw the participation of almost 30 countries with 3,500 delegates and around 300 startups, exhibitions, workshops, boot camps, roundtable investors, and so many global regulatory things, so many global regulators. There was huge participation. And you have seen in that film that was shown just now, there was participation from my colleague ministers also. I have been part of this biotechnology big event, which was organized by Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw in Bengaluru a couple of years back. I have seen the huge enthusiasm that is right now prevalent across this sector all over the world. And whenever India hosts such an event, there is a very significant participation from people all over the world. And this year, looking at what the picture is, what has been told to me, that there is a participation from almost 50 countries and almost over 6,000 delegates with, I think, more than 1,000 startups now participating. And I think this is a huge indication of the success that we are achieving in this particular field right now. And I have learned all these terms like bioeconomy and biopharma and biofuels and bioagriculture, bioenergy, and all this our dear friend Charanjit Banerjee was talking about aquaculture, and all these things that, and then Dr. Kiran Majumdar mentioned about the food and seed production economy and the environmental issues, and of course the vaccine sector. And she made a very important point that we are contributing to 60% of the vaccines of the whole world. The pharma sector is also contributing to, the generic drugs is also contributing to 20%, but she said the value is just about 3%. And I think she has made her point very well. We need to, in fact, with the involvement of Biotechnology, Biorec, Invest India, and of course the great CII, and support by so many scientists and biotechnologists and the solvers like Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, I think we have a good chance of actually achieving our goal. And on top of all this, we have the support. I can see Dr. Nirmala Sitharamanji, she has joined. I would like to welcome her on behalf of our department and all the people all over the country and the world who have joined us. So this is a great moment for us, because the presence of the finance minister of the country, one of the most dynamic ministers who had done us so proud, and especially this year's budget has been an excellent budget, especially on behalf of the scientific community and the health community of the country, I would say, and of course for the startups, for the research, and the way Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw suggested that not only the production related linked incentives, but she suggested something like RLI, the research linked incentives, which is, I think, a very bright idea. Already the Honorable Finance Minister has this year announced a huge National Research Foundation with a budget of 50,000 crores there. And the way the government has supported the scientific community in the year 2020 also, and the way when the economy was having a downslide all over the world, during that crisis also, when we analyzed that almost 27 lakh crores of things were announced and planned by the finance minister during that crisis. Even in health, we got so much of support. The scientific community also got so much of support, and the scientific community also paid back by, in fact, devising all the things, and by also using the right approach, right strategy. And that's why I've been calling that this 2020 will not only be remembered as an year of COVID, when the whole humanity got disturbed. We lost many people all across the world. We lost so many of our dear friends, COVID warriors. I have in particular lost so many of my doctor friends, so many of my healthcare professionals during this COVID crisis, but it will also be remembered as the year of science and the year of scientists, because we could see that scientists, irrespective of what their field was, what their domain was, what they were supposed to be doing, what was the outcome that was expected of them, they all rose to the occasion. They all worked like a family, whether it was DST, whether it was DRDO, whether it was biotechnology, whether it was earth sciences, everywhere, everybody rose to the occasion. And somebody was making an aeroplane. Our lab in NAL in Bangalore, they started making the ventilators, and we in CSIR were working for repurposed drugs, biotechnologists for creating the vaccines. They were creating the biorepositories. We got the genome sequencing in a big way. We got the virus isolated. We created the labs. The biotechnologists were doing the testing and helping us in reaching that level when we were doing almost 1 million tests a day, from one lab to almost 2,400 labs in the country. So much has happened. I know that there are vaccines in the process of research, development, which I used to talk about when I was a minister in Delhi 25 years back, but they are still in the research domain. And we are yet to find a solution to those diseases. But here was one disease which came in the last week of December 2019. And it has taken everybody by surprise. And when we are talking in the first quarter of 2021, we have already got 2 vaccines in our country, which we have already given to almost 1 crore 35 lakh people. And today we have got the guts, ability, potential, planning, and everything to vaccinate every person above 60 years of age in this country. Every person with a comorbidity between 45 and 69 under the able leadership of our Prime Minister. So I see a lot of hope, and the way so many things I have personally seen, how the biomass is being converted into energy, how we are cleaning the sewer water at the Bharapula drain with the help of the biotechnology things, and how the biotech Kisan movement is helping the farmers, how our small text messages to the farmers, they help us in a 50,000, you see, increase in the GDP. So many things happening around science and more particularly biotechnology. As a doctor, I feel more contented with the developments of biotechnology, because this is something which is the closest to the welfare of human being, or it is the closest to the welfare of life science. It is the real life science. And the way I saw how the startups are helping, having a distant recording of everyone with the help of technology, with artificial intelligence, how you are helping those who have lost their sight, who are without the sight, and their sight can be restored, and so many other things. There is so much to talk about today, but we are very keen to listen to the Honorable Finance Minister today. And I would now not say more about, we have been like, there are on every front, there is so much that has been recognized internationally also. One of the places where all the vaccines that are being created all over the world, they are being subjected to trials and for their scrutiny. And one of the places is in India itself, in Delhi itself, in Faridabad itself. So that is the level at which our laboratories and institutions in biotechnology and other sciences are working. Yesterday itself, we had the National Science Day, and we awarded so many of our scientists. Similarly, last week we awarded so many of our scientists who have done UMN service to the research around biotechnology. So I would use this occasion to congratulate all of them once again, and thank you all the scientists for the exemplary work that you are doing. We are convinced that with your ability and with your contribution, every problem on earth, every problem that the Indians continue to suffer even after 75 years of independence, it can be solved with the help of science, and it can be solved with a very, very active contribution from the people belonging to the field of biotechnology. All the young startups, wish you all good luck. The whole government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, supported by our Finance Minister, stands rock solid behind every idea, whether it is coming out of a mind with good quality formal education or without any formal education. There are so many people in this country who have got bright ideas, who are contributing to the ideas economy through their great innovation coefficient, and are converting things into entrepreneurship, helping people of India solve their problems and making their lives better. This is an occasion to reaffirm our resolve, and I am sure that in times to come, we will certainly be able to achieve our immediate goal is a new India by 2022. That is the dream of our Prime Minister, which he had spelled out in 2017. And our ultimate goal is Atmanirbhar Bharat, also a Vishwaguru Bharat, and also a science and technology by 2030, where we are amongst the top 2-3 scientific nations of the whole world. We have already got into the first 50 in the Global Innovation Index, and almost all the parameters, most of the parameters, we are amongst the top 10 nations of the whole world. So this is a great achievement, and a lot of it has happened during the last 7 years under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So he also deserves a lot of, appreciation and the support from all of us, and we all have to contribute to realization of his dream of a new India. And let us take a pledge around that today. And with the help of all people all across the world, I'm sure we are going to do it. When India decides, it does it, and we have shown it during COVID also. Thank you so much, and thank you once again, the Honorable Finance Minister, for gracing our very important function. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very kind words, your words of encouragement, and also the leadership that you have shown us to take this forward. Give me great, immense pleasure to welcome our Honorable Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Madam Nirmala Sitharamanji. Thank you very much, Madam, for joining us for this Global Bio India inauguration today. Your presence here today on behalf of the entire biotech community and behalf of the entire scientific community, I take this opportunity to thank you for being here. I take this opportunity to thank you not only for gracing the occasion to be here, but also for your continued support to this ecosystem. Madam, the various announcements which you have made in the finance budget last year for the technology, knowledge translational clusters, for the technology clusters, for the genome sequencing programs, and this year, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Mission COVID Suraksha. Madam, I am very pleased to inform you that you have seen the results of the vaccines as they have been rolled out under this Mission COVID Suraksha. This is on behalf of the over 6,000 biotech sector people who have joined us today for this Global Bio India, 50 countries, more than, in fact, 10 state governments, and a huge scientific and startup community. So I take this opportunity to thank you once again, Madam, and we look forward to your address to inspire our young startup community who are all waiting to hear you, and also take this opportunity to thank you for your support for the sector. Over to you, Madam.
Dr. Harshavardhan ji, Honorable Minister for Health, Family Welfare, Science and Technology and Earth Sciences. Dr. Vinod Paul, Member Health, Niti Aayog. Dr. Renu Swaroop, Secretary, DBT and Chairperson of BIRAC. Shri Uday Kotak and Dr. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw and other dignitaries. Ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. It's my pleasure to be at the inauguration of the Global Bio India 2021 and the Atmanirbhar Bharat Conclave. The science and technology ecosystem in India has always been a dynamic and evolving area, with the support of the Government of India through its different schemes and policies. However, in the last year, with the background of COVID-19 pandemic that all of us have been troubled by, its true power, resilience and capability have been unleashed with concerted efforts of the government and the private sector together. The government, through the DBT, BIRAC, has supported technology-driven 3,500 plus entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, and so on, through various operational models of cooperation. A network of 55 bio-incubators with more than 550,000 square feet of incubation space has been built, which has helped innovators to create a pool of intellectual wealth. I understand 260 plus IP have been filed and has supported the launch of 200 plus products and technologies in the market. The government, through Department of Biotechnology, its autonomous institutes and public sector undertakings, Department of Health, Research, the DHR, DST, ICMR, CSIR have been working relentlessly to mitigate the COVID-19 global health crisis through development of diagnostics, vaccines, monoclonals, novel protection equipments, support to startups, scaling up of diagnostic capacity, and rapid regulatory response. A multi-pronged research strategy and action plan was evolved for immediate response, augmentation of COVID-19 tests across the country, as well as for long-term preparedness to tackle the COVID-19 infection. India stands as a powerful example for the world of how embracing a culture of science and innovation can deliver progress on public health goals, both within India and globally. In line with the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the initiative which was announced, India has taken a leading role in the manufacture of diagnostics, medical equipment, and vaccines. We were able to quickly build up our capacities for testing, take over 1 million samples for testing for COVID-19 every day, spanning almost 1,900 laboratories across the country. DBT and BIRAC initiated the COVID-19 Research Consortium to facilitate the holistic development of vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics. The mission COVID Suraksha, launched as a part of the Atmanirbhar Package 3.0, is an important initiative for accelerating indigenous vaccine development. Today, the world is looking at India to supply much of the vaccines required for the pandemic. India is on the way to fulfilling this promise, both for our population and for the rest of the world. With the clarion call given by Honorable Prime Minister for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, or a self-sufficient India, the innovation and biotechnology industry, both large and small, have risen to the occasion. From large manufacturers to startups, the innovation ecosystem in the country has come together to provide solutions for India and the world. Today, India is self-sufficient in most of the products required to manage the pandemic. Union Budget 21-22 has increased outlays. Dr. Harshavardhan was recalling some of them, has increased outlays to the entire science and technology domain. With the establishment of the National Research Foundation, as proposed in the budget, that is expected to fund research in the university ecosystem across the range of disciplines, from science and technology to humanities, will further expand the scope of science funding in India. I am very pleased that such an exciting international conference, which has representation from national and international governments, private sector, startups, academics, among many others, has been planned to bring together and showcase the best of the biotechnology innovation ecosystem that exists here. This conference builds on success of the last edition held in 2019, and this is truly commendable that the scientific community is working in such a dynamic manner to bring innovative and affordable solutions to India and the world. I wish all the speakers and participants the very best and hope that this conference further ignites and brings together the innovation ecosystem to scale greater heights. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, madam, for your very kind words, and we look forward to your continued support to build this ecosystem further. And I can assure you, on behalf of this entire community, that we will never let you down at any of these moments. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your support. Over to the Bio team.
Thank you, ma'am. We now come to the release of the National Biotechnology Development Strategy 2021 to 25. Transition from the NBDS 2015 to 2020 to NBDS 2021-2025 comes when India is aiming to become a USD 5 trillion economy, making for India and the world, ensuring ease of living for the citizens, skilling its youth to become entrepreneurs and job creators, and ensuring equitable and sustainable development. The new strategy will allow the biotechnology sector to make a quantum jump in addressing these priority areas. May I now request the Honorable Union Minister for Science and Technology and the Honorable Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs to kindly release this important strategy document. May I now request the release of this thing, of the virtual document. Thank you all so much. Now may I request the inauguration of Global Bio India 2021 and the virtual exhibition of Global Bio India by the guest of honor. All so much. We now come to the end of the inaugural session. On behalf of DBT, BIRAC, and our partners CII, ABLE, and Invest India, we would like to thank the Honorable Union Minister for Science and Technology, Dr. Harshvardhan, the Honorable Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, and Shri Chandrajit Banerjee for joining us for the inaugural this afternoon. We now move on to the Atmanirbhar Bharat session, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Conclave for India and the world. And may I please request the moderator for the session, Dr. Manish Devan, Head Strategic Partnership and Entrepreneurial Development, BIRAC, to take on the proceedings for this conclave. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. The Make in India national mission has translated into Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. India's growing innovation biotech ecosystem has delivered in these challenging times of COVID pandemic. Vaccine for India and for the world. Pharma drugs, we didn't let any pharmacy shelf go empty during this pandemic times. Diagnostic kits, PPE kits, ventilators, remote monitoring devices, masks, etc. The National Biotech Development Strategy 2021-2025 comes at a time when India's bioeconomy is expected to grow to 150 billion by 24-25. In this session, we look forward to hear international perspective, national policy priorities, and industry perspective for India's Atmanirbhar mission. May I request Dr. Deepak Bagla, CEO, Invest India, to give us an overview of vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat for India and for the world. Over to you, Mr. Bagla.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you for anchoring all of us. But before I start, I first have to thank the Secretary, Dr. Renu Swarup. I think she's exceptional. The energy she's brought and the entire leadership with which this entire activity and it's so robust now, this entire corridor. And I will share some numbers as we go forward. But it's always good to see Excellency Dr. Heckner. Good to see you again, even though we are all on this little screen. And Martin, always good to see you. You know, both of you guys have really, the support which you bring in, and you've seen the large corporates coming in, and we've been discussing many things. And I'm so glad we have Dr. Paul and Dr. Saraswat with us. They'll be discussing, I think, a lot about what has been happening in the past few days, especially on the R&D side, a subject which is very close to the heart of Dr. Mazumdar-Shaw. And she's an icon of the industry, and she's been leading this entire effort with so many suggestions and taking this forward. And Junaid, thank you, always to see you. Haven't seen you for a while, so I hope you're all keeping well and safe. And always good to see you. We've got to move beyond these little windows now, hopefully soon. And thanks to the biomedic sector, we'll all get our vaccines and be able to do that. And Professor Vidyasagar, thank you again for being with us. I think the reason why, and we were looking at the previous segment, frankly, to me personally, the most interesting part of my job is what we saw in the previous opening segment when you had that entire set of startups and you saw their videos. Exceptional. It's amazing the level of innovation and entrepreneurship which we are seeing around us. And, 4,300 startups already within biotech itself. And most interestingly, what we've seen in the past close to a year, the entire effort and how they've kept us all going together and actually given us our lives in many ways. And a lot of it has to do, which is where the Atmanirbhar vision of the Honorable Prime Minister comes in. It is a vision where India builds on its strengths to partner with the world, to bring the best not just for its own self, but the entire world. And let me just put that into numbers for you. March of last year, March 2020, we closed that financial year with an FDI of $74 billion. It's the highest ever FDI we've got in our history. But let me tell you what was interesting, two aspects of it. Over 90% of that 74 billion came in what we call as the automatic route, which meant that investors did not require any specific approvals for that. India remains one of the most open economies on the planet, with the private sector having the ability to play a role in each and every sector of our economy. And the second interesting part to that is that close, a little over 43% of that came in greenfield investment. India today is one of the top greenfield destinations in the world, and I'll explain as to why is that happening. And Junaid, you have a lot to do in it, so I must come back to that one a little later. But let me now give you some numbers of what happened in the lockdown, and let me just talk of the first 8 months. The first 8 months, starting from the 1st of April, the total FDI we got was $58.39 billion in the first 8 months. In the lockdown, please remember, complete lockdown, global borders sealed, no aircrafts flying. India gets $58.39 billion in the first 8 months. Let me put it in perspective. The previous year, when everything was hunky-dory, in those first 8 months, we'd got $47.67 billion. So even during the lockdown, you saw India increasing its stake. Now, why is that happening? One is that underlying trend of reshoring of supply chains has now got activated in a significant manner. I am seeing a large number of companies moving their supply chains to India on a fast track basis. In fact, we have, for each of the investors who come in, we have a dedicated relationship manager. March last year, we work on the plans and help them with their business plans and getting them grounded. My total book on indicative investments was about $70 odd billion. Today, even during this lockdown, I'm at $164 billion. You can see the numbers which are increasing. And these are not in the air. These are actual companies with their plans where I have a dedicated relationship manager for each one of them. Manish, I have 5 more minutes to go. Don't worry, I'll finish within the time. The second part, what is happening? I think the opportunity is well established. Before we went into the lockdown, we were the largest, youngest, fastest. We were the largest market opportunity. We remain that as the largest market opportunity, 1.5 billion by 2025. We were the youngest, average age 29. We will remain the youngest at least for the next 100 years. We were the fastest when we went into this largest growing large economy. Look at the IMF figures for the next 24 months. You remain the largest. 11.5% for the first 12, 6.8 for the next 12. You again remain the fastest. You remain those 3 pillars, which is a very strong imperative. But what's added to it in the story during this lockdown? And what's added there, and that is where we have Secretary Renu Swarup, we have the minister, we have the Prime Minister himself leading that charge, when he said, I will make that investor journey easier. When Junaid's team came and said that the jump of India in ease of doing business was unprecedented, well, let me tell you what happened in the lockdown. In the lockdown, what has happened, a number of states today have said that if you are a small MSME enterprise, you don't require any approvals to start off their business.
come and start right away. You can keep getting your approvals for the next 36 months. You have industrial clusters which are being brought up and upgraded. And Junaid, your team is being actively part of it. And Dr. Shaw has been also guiding and giving us a lot of inputs on that. What are these industrial clusters going to be? They're going to be plug and play models. You come and you start. And you know who benefits the most on this? You have the MSMEs again who benefit the most on it. Let us look at the other elements to it. You now have a single window where we will be launching that in the next 90 days. You come onto one platform, you will get one application form, you fill it in, it will go across all state government and central government approvals and you get it. Actually, 100 days ago, we already launched the India Industrial System where you come onto a portal, you click and you will see where land is available for your industry on that click itself. And now soon you will be able to apply for it. We've already mapped 70,000 hectares, which is currently available across the country. And every state is adding on to that on a very fast track basis. The logistics cost. India today is in the early teens in its logistics cost. We are on the higher side. The Prime Minister said, I'm going to make India competitive. And what is happening on that? One of the largest spend on infrastructure and one of the largest spend on global investment coming into infrastructure is in India, be it railways, be it roadways, be it ports, be it dedicated freight corridors. It's all happening. That inflection point is turning around to a vertical spiral going up. And then we have partners. We have partners with our friends from Netherlands. We have partners with our friends from Switzerland. And all that is leading to where? You will hear about it a little more on the R&D side. And Dr. Shaw has been extremely passionately taking forward that charge. And let me give you a few statistics on that one. In the past 60 months, India has opened over 1,000 R&D centers of global multinationals in India. Today, we are the #1 R&D destination for global MNCs having their R&D centers outside of their head office. And the story has only just begun. And on the centerpiece of this entire story is when we talk about our vaccines and our very life. And remember, this story of what we are talking of, the entire Bio-India today, is not just limited to those vaccines in our lives. It's impacting food, it's impacting agriculture, nutrition, healthcare, environment, my industrial side. Every aspect of my life is getting impacted by it. So when you look at India, it's not an India which was there, which you saw day before yesterday. The India of today is based on innovation. The India of today is based on research and development. The India of tomorrow is based on an India where the strength of India is going to be bottom up, where the engine of growth is going to move beyond those metros to each and every small town and city through my MSMEs and through my 1.5 billion people and citizens. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a story which has just begun. So come join us in this story as we take it forward. We are 3 trillion today. In the next 10 years, we'll be 10 trillion. That means we will add $7 trillion to the balance sheets of each one of those who join us in this journey. Thank you very much and welcome to a new India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deepak, giving us an overview of where we are heading and what's in store for us. I think it's appropriate at this time that we hear what is the global perspective. And I'm pleased to invite His Excellency Dr. Ralph Heckner, Ambassador, Embassy of Switzerland in India and Bhutan. Sir, we look forward to your remarks now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with India's and the global biotech community. And thank you for Deepak Bagla from Invest India for setting the stage so ably. I can confirm that at least $2.6 billion of the investments that flow into India came from 2 major investments from 2 Swiss companies alone. I'm incredibly happy to be here today. This is a very timely and important platform, and I will have 3 messages for you as a public, and especially also to India, the government of India, our partner in all of this. And the first message is that international collaboration in science and innovation is more important today than ever. And I think a look back when it comes to this international collaboration of scientific achievements against COVID-19 has been mentioned by several speakers and is clearly showing the importance of that international collaboration. And that collaboration was rapid, impressive, and inspiring. And a lot of the people who turned that crisis into an opportunity are here with us, and I would like to thank all the participants who have been working on fighting COVID and with that succeeding in turning a crisis into an opportunity. Thank you very much for your incredible achievements in working together. And it was also said, India has stepped up to the plate and is playing an ever more important role when it comes to global science and innovation. India is today part and parcel of today's and tomorrow's solutions. And this is especially true in the science, life science and biotech sector. And I agree with Deepak Bagla. The startup session today was really impressive. You could feel how things are moving incredibly rapidly in India when it comes to science and innovation in tackling difficult issues like the COVID crisis. So my second message is that Switzerland and India have a proven track record. And I think the fact that I have the honor to speak to you and that I was invited to this important conference shows that that track record is clearly recognized by India as well. We have a track record of a successful cooperation, and not only in business, but also in science, innovation and research. If I have a look at our cooperation in business, there are 300 Swiss businesses located in India, and there are 120 businesses from India in Switzerland. This is a partnership and a cooperation when it comes to our businesses. The Swiss businesses here are not only creating about 135,000 jobs directly and many more indirectly, but they're building manufacturing capacities. They are turning the Prime Minister's vision of self-reliant India and made in India into a reality. And very importantly, and Deepak Bagla was referring to it, Swiss businesses are operating quite a number of R&D centers. And Swiss companies have been part and parcel of the solution when it comes to the fight against COVID in India, through delivery of vaccines, through the production of masks, and especially through providing diagnostics equipments. And if I have a look at the 120 Indian companies, it is interesting to see that a third of those Indian companies located in Switzerland are active in the life sciences and biotech sector. So what does that mean? It means that there's a huge potential for Switzerland and for India to emerge in a leadership role, for example, in the commercialization of therapeutic antibodies and personalized health, but also in cell and gene therapy developments. And last but not least, in leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning in the drug development process. Now let me come to my third and last message, and that is about the way forward, about how Switzerland and India can build and co-create the future together. And here my emphasis is definitely on together, because as we have seen, with COVID-19. Only together can we find effective solutions. And that can be done only by sharing the same vision. And I think with COVID, it was clear the whole world had the same vision to fight COVID. And we had to work hand in hand very hardly and bring together our respective strengths. And one of the strengths that Switzerland is bringing to the table is clearly our excellence in education, research, and innovation. In global international rankings, Switzerland is always ranked top when it comes to innovation. Switzerland is one of the most innovative countries. And we heard today, India is one of the most innovative countries too. And there's a reason to why, for example, Switzerland is a very innovative country. We put the money where our mouth is. About 3.4% of our GDP goes into research and development. And the budget of the finance minister of India, and it was said here at this interaction and platform, is also focusing in investing money in R&D in India. Another reason why Switzerland is a very innovative country is we are a very small country, and we do have to cooperate with the world. We are not enough. So this obligation to work with the world is turned into a great opportunity, because our mindset is and has always been to be open, especially in the scientific innovation and research sector. And we do that with partnerships. And with that, I would like to come to my last pitch. In order to establish those partnerships, my embassy, the Swiss Business Hub in Mumbai, and also the Swiss Science Consulate, SwissNex in Bangalore, are at your proposal, are there to connect the dots with you and to facilitate investments, both ways, but especially also to have and create collaborations that are mutually beneficial. So I hope after my 3 messages, next time when you think about Switzerland, keep thinking of one of the most beautiful countries of the world, but especially think also of a country that is highly competitive when it comes to innovation, research, and development, and think of a country that is and should be your partner in order to shape the future together. And I would like to thank you all for listening to me, especially also to the organizers for giving this important platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's indeed encouraging to learn that. And we believe that our partnership will sustain, and we will be able to see the 129 companies expanding the scale of operations as well as expanding the breadth of operation with this long-term relationship. Thank you, sir. May I now invite His Excellency, Mr. Martin van den Berg, Ambassador, Embassy of Netherlands in India. And we appreciate, sir, being you also one of our partner country in organizing of Global Bio India. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaskar. And it's really an honor and a pleasure to join you today for the Global India Bio and the Atmanirbhar Bharat Conclave. And it's also good to see so many familiar faces. Deepak, Junaid, it's really good to join together. Thank you so much. And I think the launch of the new National Biotechnology Strategy makes for a great start to what I'm sure is going to be an exciting couple of days of discussions, of wonderful exchange of ideas, of promising partnering opportunities in the fields of biotechnology. But we very much welcome also India's efforts to boost the development of its knowledge and innovation ecosystem and its bioeconomy. And we all know that they are very, very important and very key for addressing our societal challenges. We are all very badly hit by COVID-19 and the Netherlands, India, Europe, the world, but at the same time, COVID-19 also brought, I think, an amazing global collaboration in the search for a vaccine. And I think COVID-19 really shows us that the world needs international collaboration in science, in technology, in innovation. And I think it also highlights the importance of international value chains to rapidly bring solutions to the market, but also to think about resilience of global supply chains. And that's, I think, what Deepak already a bit described, what you see as a kind of a restructuring of global supply chains. India's global role as a pharmaceutical production powerhouse and the country leading role in vaccines development makes it a wonderful partner in the fight against COVID-19. And it highlights, I think, India's strength as a global biomanufacturing hub. And I think the vaccine diplomacy of India is a great example of how to play a key global role and take global responsibilities. India, for us, is a very important partner when it comes to working towards solutions for shared societal challenges, the Sustainable Development Goals. And the SDGs are really the core and the heart of the collaboration between the Netherlands and India. And of course, science innovations are key elements in every SDG. Therefore, we have a strong and growing bilateral partnership in science, in technology, in innovation, and we are working on a joint investment agenda that is focused on water, on agriculture and health, and the key enabling technologies. I very much understand Atmanirbhar Bharat. Of course, it's important to create jobs and a strong economy for India. But for me, part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat is also creating competences for India to strengthen competitiveness in global markets. And I think global collaboration is key for achieving this. And the FDI figures, Deepak, you showed to us, I think is a perfect example of this global connection. And India and Netherlands can work together to make both our positions in global markets stronger. We see many Dutch companies investing in India, and we are very proud to have a strong partnership in the field of science. Challenges we are partnering on through our cooperation with the Department of Biotechnology and the Ministry of Science and Technology include topics such as climate smart agriculture, waste to wealth, and affordable medical devices and vaccines. And we do so together through inspiring projects that bring together our country's best scientific and entrepreneurial minds in public-private partnerships that help address unmet needs and create new markets. The flagship Lotus HR project and the work at the lab at the Barapula drain, also mentioned by the Honorable Minister Vardhan, and the SME-led innovation partnerships focused through our joint global STARS goals are great examples of our existing collaboration. And I'm excited about current efforts to create stronger ties between our innovation ecosystems through linkages between our knowledge institutions, incubators and accelerators, and investor communities in topics such as medtech, cleantech, and agtech. Both India and the Netherlands have very, very strong knowledge positions in these areas and a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem which will benefit from stronger ties through co-creation opportunities and mentoring soft landing programs for starts and scale-ups. I'm looking very much forward to explore new areas of cooperation under new mission-led science, technology, and innovation initiatives. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here with you today and look forward to the results of the conference. We have several Dutch speakers joining the conference program in the coming days, and the Embassy Life Science and Innovation team will be available through the bio partnering. Thank you so much. Bahut bahut dhanyawad.
Dhanyavad, sir. Very nice of you to take us through and share the vision that AgTech, EduTech, CleanTech, innovation ecosystem, we can find synergies. And from behalf of Department of Biotechnology, our teams will get in touch with your teams, and we will look forward to take these things forward. Thank you for giving the global perspective. May I now request Dr. Saraswati to give us an overview on the national priorities aligned with the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Sir, over to you, sir.
Very good evening and namaskar to all. At the onset, let me take this opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Kindly go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming. At the onset, let me congratulate the team of biotechnologists and all the professionals who are present from BioRec, DBT, and other national institutions who have done a human service during the COVID-19 period by accelerating the innovation process despite severe disruptions in the supply chain and mitigating majority of the problems which we faced both in terms of equipment and production kits and now the vaccines. And certainly we have not only helped our own population, but I think we have been able to mitigate some of the problems of the world as a whole. So it is basically the excellence which has been created by the Department of Biotechnology over the years in creating the real system of innovation, which has certainly helped in this particular pandemic time, the country to overall. I would say that I think we have today a very, very potent ecosystem as far as this technology is concerned. Taking back to you, where do we stand with respect to the global scenario? I would go into the early days because over the past few decades, biotechnology, of course, it is sometimes described as the oldest profession in the world, has evolved into a modern technology without which medical progress would be scarcely imaginable. Modern biotechnology, of course, plays a crucial role both in the elucidation of the molecular causes of disease and in the development of new diagnostic methods and better targeted drugs. These developments, of course, have led to the birth of a new economic order, economic sector, what we call as the biotech industry today, associated mostly with small startup companies, and that is what we have seen. In fact, during the pandemic period, the best performance has come out by the startups, while many of the other industries were going slow and going negative. I think it was the biotechnology and the startup companies in this particular sector which came up in a big way and also contributed to the problem considerably. Now let us look at the kind of scenario which is emerging, because this seminar certainly is about what is happening globally. The bio-revolution, if you look at it today, is a 2 trillion to 4 trillion opportunity. There are 4 areas of bio-innovations which are basically being practiced and now all the researchers are working in that. One of them is, of course, biomolecules, mapping and engineering the intracellular molecules. The biosystems, where you are mapping and engineering the cells, tissues, and the organs. And the bio-machine interfaces, where connecting nervous systems of living organisms to machines. And biocomputing, where you are using the cells and cellular components for computation. The scope and the scale of potential impact on economics and the societies appear substantial. Some figures: 60% of the world's physical inputs could be made using biological means. 45% of the world's diseases burden could be addressed. 30% of the private sector R&D spent in biology-related industries. So there are transformative capabilities with application across various domains. But of course, there are risks and there are issues to be managed. And there are multiple applications. I think previous speakers have mentioned about it. There are agriculture, there are energy and materials, there are applications of health, there are consumers, and many other things. Basically, it's an area where innovators, business and policy makers must act if we have to capture the benefits of the bio-revolution. And while India is doing significantly well, which I'm going to share with you, but I think there's a lot more is required to be done. Look at the biotechnology in India. The Indian biotechnology industry was valued about $62 billion in 2019, and it is expected that we are going to be about 150 billion by about 2025. The sector is now actually divided into 5 major segments: the biopharmaceuticals, the bioservices, the bioagriculture, bioindustrial, and bio-IT. And you can see the kind of distribution it is. Biopharmaceuticals, which was basically instrumental in our present day scenario, was 64%. Bioservices about 18%. Bioindustrial is just about 3%. and bio IT is gaining importance, but is very, very low at the moment. It's about 1%. So Indian pharmaceutical industry supplies over 50% of the global demand for various vaccines, 40% of the generic demand in the US, and 25% of all medicines to UK. So that is the kind of export we have. And India accounts for about 20% of the global export in generics. India's pharmaceutical exports stood at about $16.2 billion in year 2020. And healthcare sector, one of the fastest growing sectors in our country, is expected to cross about 372 billion by 2022. So India pharmaceutical sector is expected to grow at a CAGR of about 22.4% in the near future, and medical device market is going to grow about $25 billion by 2025. These are kind of a statistics, which is the kind of future, and this is the kind of growth we are expecting. If you look at industrial applications of life sciences R&D, which is happening today, you will find that the R&D is basically on genome, cell processing, bioinformatics will lead to these three interlinked basic industries of the biotechnology. One is, of course, the primary bioproduction, which is related to the food, feed, fiber, cellulosic crops, and biomass feedstock and all that. The industrial biotechnology and bioenergetics, where I'm very much interested because I'm looking at biofuels, bioplastics, enzymes, and so on. And biomedicines and biopharmaceuticals, which is new therapies and diagnostic, which you guys are doing everything. But the main game changer which is emerging in this particular sector is the synthetic biology, which is developing into a bio-design platform where it will be possible to apply the design, build, test, iterate, or deploy to predictably create cells or mechanisms able to produce a wide variety of novel molecules, materials, or even cells for multiple applications. This is what is going to happen. And mind it, the days are gone when you are working on single technologies. Everywhere it is the integration of technology, the convergence of foundational technologies like nanotechnology, the biotechnology, the information technology, and cognitive sciences to add there. In fact, till very recently, we were not adding the cognitive sciences in this. But I think now NBIC becomes the order of the day, which will transform the biotechnology into nanoinformatics, DNA computing, photonics, nanobiomedicine, nanobiotechnology, synthetic biology, biophotonics, and this convergence will usher a new era as far as the biotechnology research is concerned. And I think His Excellency from Netherlands as well as from Switzerland mentioned the key trends which are taking place in this particular segment are due to the disruptive technologies which are emerging today. For example, the artificial intelligence, which will accelerate disease diagnosis, research of new products and drug development, the Internet of Things for wearable medical devices and remote patient monitoring, augmented reality, which will boost the knowledge transfer processes, and genetic engineering powered by technology advancement. Clinical research partnership with modernization will help patients be more consistent in terms of their dosage. Regulatory automation to keep abreast of the new technology developments. Life sciences companies will have to embark upon automating the whole process of drug evaluation to avoid delays and discrepancies. What we have seen during this period, however fast we tried to do, but there were certain hiccups in each vaccine development, mainly because of some of the regulatory requirements and some of the ways the data is cataloged and presented and so on. The increased volume of life sciences research is certainly going to go from place to place. In areas will be like immunotherapy, precision surgery, and genetics, and connecting robotics to improve surgical methods, artificial intelligence tool to perform accurate procedures on patients, and also insight for doctors regarding the course of treatment. One of the main things which is going to actually affect is the standardization. I think this is one thing which in the life sciences business is expected to move forward, and standardization of the business model will take place. This will certainly universalize the whole thing. Compliance management technology, as the companies are spreading their business into markets with new target, it will result in additional automating for their processes of global compliance. Of course, the most important thing is all these technologies should result into cost control, reducing the cost of drug evolution and drug testing and business models and so on. The government of India has already taken many steps for making this sector Atmanirbhar, and I'm going to touch upon some of the steps which have been taken, like increased budgetary allocation for healthcare to boost the domestic market. Budgetary allocation for the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare grew by about 18.6% over 5 years. And it is an open kind of a thing where it is said that for the purpose of this pandemic and for taking any research activity in the biotechnology area, I think there is enough money would be made available. Increased focus on attracting pharma investment. Governments in states such as Andhra Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh have announced their intentions of setting up pharma parks. We are creating a stable and supportive regulatory environment for the industry. The amount of simplification that took place in our regulatory system during the last 1 year, I could not imagine it, because I used to be one of the worst critics of our regulatory system for the drug control and things like that. But the way they have modernized themselves, they have changed themselves and brought out new ways of solving this problem. Hats off to them, and I hope this continues even while the pandemic is not there. Accelerate universal healthcare access by strengthening the healthcare infrastructure and using digital technology. We noticed that we had certain issues with respect to the infrastructure was concerned. For example, in the biologically safety limits, laboratories, BSL-4 and things like that, and the virus laboratories and things like that, like we have in Pune, I think there's a need for multiplying them, because there is a requirement. And what has happened in the last 15 to 20 years, different kinds of viruses have been affecting the humanity. And I think this field has to be investigated more and more rigorously, and that would require additional infrastructure. And expanding and upskilling the talent pool. I think, as I mentioned to you, the way the startups came up during this period, I think there's a need to further intervene by helping set up and operationalize industry-wide at-scale capability, building programs to create a skilled talent pool that can be readily absorbed into the workforce. Then promote innovations by creating a research ecosystem and make India a life sciences innovation hub. While human service has been done by BIREC and DBT in creating a good innovation ecosystem, and I find that is one segment where I think minimum complaints we receive from the scientists and innovators. I think this should be now scaled up by carrying out much more activity in this area, providing proactive approach maybe, and also set up targeted regulatory and tax interventions by the government. Today only, I think I heard, I think Kiran Majumdar, madam, and she was talking that the vaccine prices which have been set by the government as not acceptable to the industry is going to, I mean, these are the things which we'll have to really deliberate and do a major change there. An investor-friendly environment for private equity, venture capital players, I think it's important. Creating anchor educational institutions known for cutting-edge research, this is another area. Recently, during this pandemic, we also faced the problem of APIs. We found that our supply chain of APIs was cut off. So we have to now indigenously produce the APIs, particularly with the CSIR laboratories having tremendous amount of capabilities in this area. We can even restart some of our old API manufacturing units like IDPLs and so on. I think it's worthwhile re-energizing, re-engineering the API manufacturing setup. Adopting innovative models for land acquisition and commercialization to minimize upfront capex investment for the industry, and lowering cost of borrowing to set up plant in these API hubs, SEZs, through tie-ups with multilateral financing agencies. I think this is another measure we can take. We should also explore the creation of an independent ministry for pharmaceuticals. I think time has come that I think we should get a larger focus, and that would help. Expand and consolidate global footprint and collaborate with international regulatory bodies. I think today's seminar certainly is a good step in the direction of increasing our international collaboration, where we can benefit in a win-win mode from the developments taking place in different countries, shaking hands with them in terms of devices, sensors, technologies, and even talent sharing and so on. I think India can lead the whole world as far as biotechnology and life sciences are concerned. I wish the conference all the great success and congratulate once again all the biotechnologists, the professionals, the industry partners, the startup companies, and all the academicians who made our life comfortable during this pandemic. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. That was quite an overview of the national priorities. We acknowledge that your time and perspective that you have shared. May I now request Dr. Vinod Palji, Member Health Niti Aayog, to give us a perspective of perspective Bharat. Sir, are you? Can you come online? Can you?
Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely clearly. Kindly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Inauguration, Dr. Saraswati, distinguished colleagues. It's been a pleasure to listen to Dr. Saraswat. I extend my best wishes to the Global Bio India initiative. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity for me to speak. I'll very briefly touch upon two areas that emanate from India's quest for Atmanirbhar Bharat in the context of biopharma and pharmaceutical solutions for the people. Firstly, in the COVID-19 pandemic, at one level, we learned that we have animal instincts that can be unleashed and we can deliver on a fast track mode. I'm sure this point has already been made, but I would like to emphasize again that the speed with which these solutions appeared was phenomenal. Over a period of 10 to 12 weeks, there were 96 Indian diagnostics on the market, 96. And the first one came up within 3 weeks of the start of, let's say, zero time. And not only were they copy and paste, as one would have said, but also they embraced the most advanced technology, such as the CRISPR technology. And therefore, it was evident that things can happen. It is evident that things can happen in a very speedy manner. Likewise, the story of development of vaccines, totally developed in India, particularly Covaxin and others in the same vein in the pipeline, the Cadila Zydus vaccine, as well as the Genova vaccine, are amazing examples of how the time can be compressed and mobilization, scientific mobilization and R&D mobilization can take place in an amazing manner. And of course, production, manufacturing, stockpiling, and we are reaping the benefits of those initiatives. What is remarkable, and I want to emphasize that part in this, is that this time around, the DBT and the ICMR, they decided clearly that we will also like to see trials of the vaccine to take place in other countries. The global footprint, intent to have a global footprint for R&D journey was something which I felt very proud of, and I think it did break the ceiling in a way. We still haven't reached, the final point, but the effort that was made in this regard, reaching out to 10 countries in the neighborhood, reaching out to several other countries beyond the neighborhood, in terms of requesting them, mobilizing them to be able to test our vaccine, try our vaccines on their population, to me was a path-breaking phenomenon. And not only was this mounted very quickly, but also it was part and parcel of a well thought out strategy backed by deep thinking and backed by resources, the national resources. So extending capabilities for trial beyond our own shores is something which has also been achieved in the course of our scientific journey for COVID-19. Also, I think the way a regulatory system responded in terms of ease of business, in terms of speed of business, has also been remarkable. And also on the translational side, taking decisions for the protocols for treatment of patients a systematic approach that was taken step by step as the evidence appeared is also something which will come handy in times to come. So both on regulation, both in expansion of our ambition for R&D journey, I feel very proud. And I also feel that we have lessons that we now need to take forward as we move along into the next phase. The specific mention about the government schemes has been made. We realized the need for having a stable system for APIs. It laid bare our vulnerabilities in this period. And then, of course, we have specific PLI kind of schemes which are there to give stimulus to those to address those gaps. Overall, I think it showed our true potential. And I would like us to use that potential to break fresh ground. And one area where I hope we can break fresh ground, two areas. One is in the area of rare diseases and orphan drugs. India should be a powerhouse of these drugs. And we will do it not only for India, but also for much of the world, which, like us, is unable to afford and make access possible for children suffering from these diseases. That's one area where I would like us to make a huge effort. Another area which I like to flag today is the area of antimicrobial resistance, where again the solutions should come from India. Because there is one dimension which is the responsibility of people like us, clinicians and hospitals, to make sure that there is antimicrobial stewardship and there is tracking of what we are giving, when we are giving, and so on. But at another level, we need to be searching for new molecules. We must be repurposing the old molecules and actually have technologies which could game change this whole romance with the antibiotics. And therefore, I would like us to flag these two areas. Antimicrobial resistance as a priority has somewhat been pushed to the back burner. I would like this to come up front. And the solutions to antimicrobial resistance may not be in the classical chemistry, but in the more advanced biochemistry or biotechnology. And therefore, I hope we can work on these two areas. It will be my honor and a privilege and a pleasure to work with you all. COVID is in many ways behind us. So some of these agendas which we were unable to address optimally in the last 12 months or so, I would like that discussion to start again, and I look forward to working with all of you. And particularly, I'm watching Kiranji. Kiranji, we must work on some of these, the two ideas that we have been sharing in the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And I would just like to mention that AMR and neglected diseases, we have a dedicated session tomorrow. And DNDi, GARDP, and WHO, Indian Pathogen Priority List, we are all talking about that in detail. Thank you, sir, for your perspective. We have Mr. Junaid, Professor Vidyasagar, and Dr. Kiran. We are looking forward to hear their views. May I request Mr. Junaid Ahmed, WHO, World Bank Country Director, kindly take us through and share your global perspective on Atmanirbhar Bharat, and you've been very closely working with the Indian ecosystem. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be part of this conversation. When Renuji asked me to say a few words, I said that she was asking me to come into a sector that I'm very challenged by. I do not know much about the biosector, so I wasn't sure how I would contribute to this conversation. But I think let me maybe approach the conversation in the following way. You have today a very bold vision by the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, on Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India. The question is, how does the biotech sector fit into Atmanirbhar Bharat? And how does the biotech sector contribute to Atmanirbhar Bharat. And the punchline of what I want to say is that what we're learning from the biosector is that it is part of a global value chain. And if Atmanirbhar Bharat can position India into a global value chain, then the lesson from the biotech sector, the biosector overall, into the rest of the economy is going to be huge. Let me try and make my point, and it may be a very obvious point, but it's a point that I think seeks to present an international perspective on how we at the World Bank and other multilaterals see what Atmanirbhar Bharat actually means. And basically the punchline is Atmanirbhar Bharat is a framework to link India into the global value chain. And that the future of India lies in linking to the global value chain. And let me explain. Let me start off with three quick examples. One is and this is for me to share this in a biotech conference will seem hilarious, but it isn't. Let me first start talking about the Italian bicycle. All of you know that the Italian bicycle is one of the most wanted bicycles in the world. Well, I began to look and see what exactly is an Italian bicycle. Well, it looks like an Italian bicycle, the product design is in Japan, the accounting is done in Philippines, the frame of the bicycle is done somewhere between China, Vietnam, and Italy. The brake is done somewhere between Japan, Singapore, and Malaysia. The pedal and crank is done between Japan, China, and Singapore. Right? This is the famous Italian bicycle. Right? It is part of a global value chain. Story number one. Story number two, in India, Covishield and Covaxin. Covishield is being produced in this country by Indian Serum. It is one of the biggest producers in the world of Oxford AstraZeneca product. Yet Covaxin is developed, produced in India. And this is an incredible story of both India taking from abroad and scaling it up, and India developing locally to scale it up globally. Another example of a global value chain. And for me, a very important example, because this morning, my mother in Bangladesh got a vaccine. It was the Covishield that was sent from India to Bangladesh. And to that, I'm eternally grateful that this is the kind of global value chain that really, really matters. The third example I'll give you is garments in Bangladesh. About almost 3 decades ago, Bangladesh began to import everything into Bangladesh around garments, stitched the garments, and sold it abroad. And at that time, a lot of people said, what kind of a business is this? You bring everything from abroad, you stitch it and send it over? Today, Bangladesh is the 6th largest producer of garment in the world. It's an incredible storyline. In all of these examples, what we're saying is countries need to navigate the important linkage between domestic and international markets. And in the case of Bharat, Atma Bharat Nirbhar, it's leveraging India's scale to be a player in the global market, right? And that requires a very different type of an economy, and it requires a different set of engagement. But let me explain why this entering the global value chain across the field in India matters. First, global value chain firms are more productive than one-way traders or non-traders. Export-import firms are 80% more productive than solely local producers. Second, global value chain firms may be more capital intensive, but they show a much faster employment growth effect, 14% faster than pure non-traders. Third, countries and regions that are associated with global value chain systems show greater poverty production than countries and regions that are solely looking inwards for production. Interestingly, the firms related to global value chain are greater creator of women's employment than firms that are not part of a global value chain. Interestingly, they don't break the glass ceiling, which is still a big story to cover, but it's very much a storyline that global value chain makes a big difference in gender employment. Now, India's challenge is India's participation in global value chain is quarter less than global averages. The biotech world is above that. And the biotech world, and if I remember Kiran mentioning that the value chain that can be created in biotech in India is far more. Clearly, India's participation can only go up, and the biotech sector makes a big difference. But when you look at this climb for India to go beyond the global average in global value chain, I have to point out that India is one of the few countries in the world that is managing two very important transitions. One transition in which it has underachieved is to take full advantage of going from commodities to basic labor-intensive manufacturing. Bangladesh has taken an advantage of it. India has not taken enough of an advantage. But the second transition, which is the precocious second transition of basic manufacturing to advanced manufacturing and services, which biotech is an example, India is way ahead. But India has to manage both going forward, and that's the challenge. Why do I say that? Is because it is not going to be enough to gain the productivity from the second transition to compensate for the underachievement in the first transition. And India is one of the few countries that's balancing both going forward. And it's an incredible challenge. And it's a challenge that's time bound. The reason I say time bound is the following. The price of robots is falling, but the wage costs around the world is going up. And in this space, you will find that northern countries are going robotics, but as they go robotics, they are importing more from the south. And this is a very interesting space for India to grab into global value chain, both in the first transition and certainly in the second transition. And to do that, it's going to require India to continue to do what it's doing. And this is where I think the world has not focused enough on what India is doing. First, India is creating one of the global best social protection system. It was traditionally a rural system. It has now begun to pivot to protecting workers in the informal sector, in the urban sector, and it's protecting workers that are migrant, to creating a social protection that feeds into informality, gives portability, and gives an urban weight, is going to feed into the type of industry that both these transitions need. And India's, what I would call the Jan Shuraksha approach, is something that quietly is not a social expenditure. It's investing in protecting workers that are going to feed into these two transitions. Second is India's positioning in skilling. What we've discovered is that the second transition, the one that the biotech industry represents, is one that draws on skilled labor. But as it draws on skilled labor, we find that there's a high skill scarcity. And this is where the Prime Minister's emphasis on skills development is very much feeding into this second transition. But interestingly, as the second transition happens, it is actually draws in more workers from the low trained group. So it's a labor employing also, if you can give productivity a boost in this second transition. And here the skilling is extremely important. The third area where India is investing is in an extraordinary logistics story. The GST, even with all of its challenges, created one market. And that one market is creating trade within the country. And if you underpin it with the logistics support in ports, roads, inland water, freight corridors, it is going to give India such a boost in local productivity that it's going to feed into the transition from basic manufacturing to high-level manufacturing, which is the biotech industry, as well as the first transition. And finally, a very, very big shift in what I would call the human capital side of India. India today has a life cycle human capital program. It begins with prenatal, it invests in the 1,000 days, it is one that looks at schooling, but also schooling and skilling, people leaving school to go work out, coming back. This platform of national education policy is again feeding into the two transitions that I talked about. I think that when I look at the work that Renuji's department is doing, and we're very proud to be a partner in the Innovate in India Inclusiveness program, which the Department of Biotechnology is taking forward. It's supporting the biopharma ecosystem, and many of the innovations that you've heard about in this transition in COVID has come from that work. I think that that is an incredible example of the innovation you will see, which will draw upon all these programs that I've talked about. But I think the future of India lies in capturing its place in the global value chain, both from its first transition, basic commodities to basic manufacturing, and there is space there. And second, to continue investing in the second transition, which the biotech industry is a perfect example. We from the World Bank are a committed partner. During the COVID program, as India went from health program to social protection to protecting the MSME, which was part of its COVID-19 protection, the World Bank invested $3 billion and crowded in another $5 billion of development partners. It is that kind of commitment that we're making to continue to support the biotech industry and to support the second transition as India takes forward its challenge to reach into the global value chain. Thank you very much.
Sir, that was very enlightening, and I think the point that you put across, that conversion, bringing the global value chain and becoming part of the global value chain and twist, turn things around from an example using textile industry. I think the biotech industry is also gearing towards that side. And I think at this point, it would be most appropriate where I bring in Professor Vidya Sagarji, who headed and chaired the National Biotechnology Development Strategy. Probably he can throw in some light that how India is gearing towards becoming an innovation hub as well as biomanufacturing hub for the world. So over to you.
Thank you very much. Dr. V.K. Saraswat, member Niti Aayog and my old colleague from DRDO, Dr. Vinod Paul, member of Niti Aayog, Dr. Renu Swarup, Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shah, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, and other distinguished guests. Let me start by thanking the organizers of the Global Bio India and Atmanirbhar Bharat Conclave for inviting me to address you. As has been mentioned during the introduction, I had the privilege of chairing the two committees in DBT. First one was a third-party evaluation of all the DBT schemes during the preceding 5 years, that is 2015 to 20. And my reward for chairing that committee was that I was then asked to chair the next committee, which was to come up with a biotechnology development strategy for the next 5 years. And that job was also done. This document is now public. And if any part of my address piques your curiosity, you can go and look it up on in the public domain. Now, because of the time limitations, I will just touch upon only a very few highlights of the biotechnology development strategy. So, a stated and measurable metric of the strategy is that we aim to increase India's bioeconomy from its current $70 billion to $150 billion in the next 5 years. So this is slightly more than doubling the size of the bioeconomy. And this requires a compounded annual growth rate, a little bit ahead of 15%.
Now, I'd like to remind everyone that our Honorable Prime Minister has set the objective of taking India from a $2.7 trillion economy to a $5 trillion economy, again within a 5-year period. So this is slightly less than doubling, and it would require about a 13% compounded rate of growth. So the point I'm trying to make is that the compounded rate of growth to which the biotechnology sector is aspiring is actually higher than the stated growth target for the economy as a whole. So how are we going to achieve this ambitious goal? Well, as various speakers have pointed out, we have entered this period from a position of strength. For example, the recent events connected with the COVID-19 pandemic, the manner in which we have kept our death rate very low, the speed with which we have come up with vaccines and supplied them around the world. These are all illustrations of our strengths. And also, we have 60% of the world's manufacturing capacity in vaccines, 40% in general biomanufacturing, the largest number of FDA-approved facilities outside the USA, and so on. But having said all that, if we're very honest, we would recognize that there are several areas where we can do far better than we're doing now. And one of them was already pointed out by Dr. Kiran Majumdar in her opening remarks, that while we are manufacturing many things, many of the things that we are manufacturing have in fact not been invented by us. Okay. So this is a gap that needs to be bridged. We must strive to become not just leaders in manufacturing, but also leaders in innovation and invention. So this requires improvements in many domains. And I would like to assure you that the biotechnology strategy does address this issue, but I won't go into all the details in view of the time limitation. Instead, I'll just talk about a few specific items which I think will resonate with you. So let me first begin with an important topic, which is the conversion of academic ideas into finished products. Sometimes this is known as translational research. So what we see is that many good ideas come out of academia, they enter the world of startups. They even pass the proof of concept stage, but then they lose steam and they don't become finished products. So this is an important problem of which DBT is fully aware, and they have initiated a lot of steps to address this. For example, there are plans to set up 10 technology clusters and 5 biomanufacturing zones in close proximity to special economic zones. Even within these biotechnology manufacturing zones, it's not a secret that some perform better than others. So DBT is proposing a type of mentorship program where some of the newer zones and the ones that are not performing so well can take advantage of the expertise and experience of the better established zones. Another very important challenge here is the availability of angel investment into biotechnology startups. Now, if you look at the IT sector, which is undoubtedly a major success story of India, you would see that the life cycle in a startup in the BT sector is much longer than in the IT sector. Typically in the IT sector, within 6 months, maximum 12 months, it's pretty clear whether an idea is going to fly or not. In the case of biotechnology, it takes a lot longer. So the type of mindset required to be a BT angel investor is very different. It requires someone with patience and someone with a long-term vision, but the rewards are very, very gratifying. So in order to promote this type of angel investment in BT, the Department of Biotech will plan to set up an angel investment network to bring the idea creators and the investors together. Now, the world of biology is one of the fastest moving in science, so we should not lose sight of some of the cutting edge areas in biology. and also foster blue sky basic research. So some of the topics that have been identified are precision medicine for a variety of clinical conditions, CAR-T technology for improving cancer therapy, gene editing and gene therapy, especially CRISPR-Cas9 biology. And while we're doing all this, we must also ensure that other domains that would not be traditionally seen as part of biotechnology get involved. For example, artificial intelligence and machine learning. It has an obvious role in precision health and in drug design. In regenerative medicine, targeted delivery of machines in areas like cancer, nanotechnology has a major role to play. So we must promote that. And I would also like to point out that all the things I have mentioned until now are addressing human health. But we should not neglect agriculture, which is also very much a part of the mandate of the Department of Biotechnology. So with this in mind, DBT plans to initiate a major network program on CRISPR-Cas9 mutagenesis with identified traits in some of the selected crops. In order to achieve all these goals, India should also make sure that it is a part of the international community without, of course, at the same time sacrificing our own interests. In the past, there have already been several fruitful collaborations, and the DBT plans to enhance these further. We often hear about the urban-rural divide. So there are two aspects to this urban-rural divide. The first one is to recognize that the educational opportunities in the rural areas are still lagging behind those in the urban areas. Therefore, it is necessary to identify talented youngsters in the rural areas and ensure that they have an opportunity to realize their full academic potential. The second objective is to ensure that there are special problems of rural areas, especially in agriculture, and that these are addressed as a part of BT research. There's a fairly large part of our report that addresses this. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but just simply assure people that we definitely understand that the rural sector is an important part of our economy, and DBT intends fully to address their requirements. Now, the last item I'm planning to mention is on the regulatory environment. Historically, this has been one of the biggest grouses of people both inside India and outside. But as Dr. Saraswat mentioned in his remarks already, the regulatory environment in India has undergone a sea change. And this is illustrated by the manner in which the COVID vaccines have been processed during the past few months. While regulations are not directly within the mandate of DBT, DBT does plan to work very, very closely with the appropriate authorities to ensure continuous improvements in the ease of business index and in the regulatory environment. So to summarize, we can say that in India, we have made a good start, but we can do far better, and DBT aspires to play a major role in allowing us to achieve these ambitious targets. Thank you. Jai Hind. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Many thanks, sir. I think that was a really broad perspective and gives us an insight what the development strategy looks like going forward. As we all appreciate the innovative ideas moving and translating into a developed product, the last phase is what it takes the longest time. And I think who better can explain other than Dr. Kiran himself, giving the industrial perspective, how to carry the innovative ideas and translating them into products and for the world. Ma'am, I invite you to kindly share your perspective.
Thank you so much, and I must say that it has been a very interesting session because everyone has basically shared their insights and perspectives on what it will take to truly create an Atmanirbhar bioeconomy. So let me start by mentioning what many others have referred to, which I think are very important as we think about building Atmanirbhar into our bioeconomy. One is, of course, you have to be part of the global supply chain, like every one of the panelists has actually mentioned. The other has been mentioned by Junaid and a few others, is about being a part of the global financing ecosystem. And I think a very important aspect of what we are also trying to do is to be a part of the global innovation ecosystem and a part of the global manufacturing ecosystem. So like Junaid very rightly said, I think we have done a terrific job on being a very important part of the global manufacturing ecosystem, because as you know, we do have a market share of 60% by volume when it comes to vaccines and 20% by volume when it comes to generic medicines. And that is certainly a very important part of the global supply chain, because just imagine if India did not produce these kind of volumes, global health would be at risk. So I think we must not forget that, okay? The second thing is, however, we want to be a part of the global innovation ecosystem. Now, in order to do that, I think India needs to invest in innovation in a big way. And I think many of the panelists, especially Dr. Saraswat and Dr. Vinod Paul, called out 3 or 4 very critical areas, which was then expanded upon by Dr. Vidyasagar. I think Dr. Saraswat made a very important call out to synthetic biology. And I really believe synthetic biology is something India can do very well. We can actually very quickly commandeer this space through various technologies. And you just also heard in the inaugural session, a company like String Bio, a small startup, actually already has worked out some very innovative technologies. And that is something that needs to be scaled up. One of the big issues we have in India is we have a lot of innovative startups, but our challenge is how do we take it from startup to scale up? That will get us into the global supply chain. The other thing is, of course, I think Dr. Paul mentioned, we have a huge opportunity to innovate when it comes to rare diseases, AMRs, cell and gene therapy, etc., etc. Now, I think these are the areas which we really need to invest in. I really believe that if you start, combining the techniques. Now, when Dr. Vidyasagar talked about CRISPR and nanotechnologies, these are technologies that you have to use to drive innovation. So I think we need to combine the technologies, like basically like when you talk about bio-IT, there are a number of algorithms that have to be developed to drive some of these, data science-led new developments, whether it is medtech, whether it is just software technologies that drive innovation. We need to do all of this in a very, very big way. So startup to scale up is a very big challenge for us, and we must focus on that to be a part of the ecosystem. You also heard that we do have, I think Mr. Deepak Bagla actually mentioned the fact that we have many of the leading R&D hubs in India. Most of those R&D hubs are really in the IT space, because the IT space has actually demonstrated its huge potential and power of basically developing softwares at scale. We also have the same latent capacity to innovate at scale when it comes to biosciences, but we need to focus. We need to focus on specific areas where we will start getting global attention in terms of what we can do. I know there's a huge effort now on many of these areas. I think synthetic biology, cell and gene therapy, rare diseases, biosimilars, all these kind of areas which have been actually identified by the Department of Biotechnology for large-scale innovation and manufacturing will be the opportunities of the future to be a part of that global supply chain. And in terms of being Atmanirbhar, I think we have to understand that you cannot just be Atmanirbhar in terms of addressing a product need or a manufacturing need. Unless you start innovating solutions for all the challenges that we as a country face, we cannot be Atmanirbhar. That is why I go on focusing on research and innovation as a very critical part of that foundation for Atmanirbhar. And that's where I think we need to focus a lot of our attention. And I think we need to do it in a way that differentiates us from what other countries are doing in terms of taking innovation to the masses. So I think those are the kind of things that we need to focus on. And hand in hand with that has to be regulation. If we don't have regulation that allows us to take these ideas to the market in an inexpensive way, in a science-driven way, and in a way that basically allows the cost of development to be affordable, we will not succeed. So I really believe that what we have done with the vaccines in terms of fast-tracking regulatory development, I think is the way to go. We have actually come up with a model of restricted emergency use approval. Thereafter, we need to get into a real-world evidence-based full approval. That is the way to go. I think we need to start spearheading these new regulatory pathways. It has to be science-led. It has to be data-driven. It has to involve very good software that actually focuses on safety and efficacy. And I think that's the way you can abbreviate pathways. So if we put science to work, I'm sure we can find many, many solutions. Today is the time for us to reflect on what we have done well and what we have not done so well. And now is the time to say, how do we focus on the areas that we have not done so well on and start getting good at it. And I, for one, believe we have the raw talent to address many of the challenges that we are facing. And I would once again like to suggest that in order to be Atmanirbhar, we need to combine innovation with manufacturing and with commercial opportunities in the global arena. Because unless we take our innovation to the world, we will not be Atmanirbhar. And therefore, I think even Junaid mentioned that what India has done well at this point in time is to actually look at how do we take our innovated in India vaccines to the world. And we need many more vaccines. And that is what will actually allow us to become a part of the global supply chain. We have certainly embraced technologies from anywhere and everywhere, which we must continue to do. But I think we need to make sure that we are a very important innovation hub that the world recognizes in terms of its needs for partnering and innovating and gaining access to global markets. That's the way I would look at Atmanirbhar. So I would like to again wish this conference all the very best, and I really think that Atmanirbhar is about being a global citizen. Atmanirbhar is about making sure that we count, that we are relevant, and that people look at India as a very important strategic partner in everything it does in creating their own bioeconomies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kiran Majumdar. And in fact, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody, all the speakers. Kiran, if you can put your mic on mute, please. I think we're getting an echo. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Dr. Kiran Majumdar, Dr. Saraswat, Dr. Paul, Junaid Ahmed, Mr. Vidyasagar, Excellencies, our partner countries. It's been such a pleasure to have all of you here for this very important session. I would also once again like to thank our honorable ministers who set the tone for this Atmanirbhar Bharat session. I think the purpose of this whole Global Bio India is to bring together the community, as I said right in the beginning, to be able to draw up a collective agenda to see how we can deliver. Not just the national perspective, but the global perspective as well. And I think this plenary session, which has kicked off the Global Bio India, is going to be so important because all the sessions which now flow in after this are going to discuss components of what has been brought out so explicitly by each of you. Whether it's our ambition of course, as the title says, becoming an Atmanirbhar nation, self-reliant, not just for India, for the world, bringing in innovations, bringing in key priorities on which we focus, identifying those sectors with which we move ahead, building and forging and strengthening these international and industry, academia, startup partnerships, and most importantly, looking inwards to see what our strengths are, what our gaps are, and then finding and charting out the path to see how we take it ahead. So thank you very much, each of you. It's been such a pleasure. And with this, I hand it over to Anjana to take you to the last part, and that is bringing out before you the lab to market. That really is the crux of it. How have we been able to take our technologies from lab to market? Last time in the Bio India, we launched a technology portal. I think Anju Bhalla, the MD of BIRAC, has joined in. She is the appropriate person to tell you how BIRAC has worked with all its large number of startups to be able to deliver what is really important, and that's taking the technologies from lab to market. So thank you very much, and over to you, Anjana and Anju, to take them to the last and concluding part of the session. We are a couple of minutes late. I'm sure you'll catch up those minutes as we close. So over to you, Anjana.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And welcome Anju Bhalla, ma'am, MD, Joint Secretary, DST, and Managing Director, BIRAC. Each year, as Dr. Swaroop, Secretary DBT mentioned, each year BIRAC releases a compilation of the products and technologies that are under development. And in the presence of Ms. Anju Bhalla, JS, DST, and MD BIRAC, we would like to release BIRAC's technical compendium. The compendium features over 200 products that are under development through BIRAC's multiple schemes, and also features projects from the National Biopharma Mission and Grand Challenges India. This entire document is a testimony to the unstinting support that the government has towards the growth of the biotech innovation ecosystem. May I now request the release of the BIRAC's Technical Compendium 2021. Thank you so much, ma'am. We now have the biotech product showcase, and as Dr. Swaroop mentioned, this was created, it was built to create opportunities and boost outreach for all the BIRAC supported startups at a single platform. BIRAC has created this e-portal, which was launched by the Honorable Minister of Railways and Commerce, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, at DBT BIRAC's Global Bio India 2019 Summit in November 2019.
Thank you very much.
The dynamic platform is focused on enhancing outreach for startups and offer them the right visibility with the relevant stakeholders and at national and international levels. Presently, it features over 150 plus BIRAC supported commercialized biotech products and technologies. May we please have the showcase up. Thank you so much. May we please request Ms. Anju Bhalla, Joint Secretary DST, and MD BIRAC to please say a few words, ma'am, and also close out our session for this evening.
Thank you, Anjana. A very, very good evening to everyone. Everybody loves a success story. So this concluding session is about sharing our success stories from BIRAC with everyone today. This 3-day event is actually a celebration, in addition to being a stock taking, as Kiran ma'am just mentioned. And the celebration is actually reflected in the products that actually get developed. Everybody has commented on the startups that were featured at the beginning of the session. And we would hope that going forward, the success stories will multiply manifold The ones featured in the compendium and the portal should give courage and should motivate our young startups who often face so many difficulties and probably do get discouraged time and again, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's an exciting journey, it's a challenging journey, and we wish you all success going forward. These successes have not happened overnight, and the teams at BIRAC really work very, very hard so that we can see these products being launched into the market. So congratulations to all of you, all the startups teams, the incubators teams, BIRAC, DBT, everybody associated with developing these products. Thank you all, and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And again, our thanks to all the speakers and all the attendees and the participants who have joined us for this power-packed inaugural and Atmanirbhar Bharat conclave session, which has kicked off the 3-day Global Bio India, as Anju ma'am said, festival. And we now come to the end of this session, and we encourage everyone to please check the agenda and join any session that strikes your fancy. There are 3 that are running in parallel at this time. And then we also look forward to welcoming you all back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for day 2 of Global Bio India. Thank you all. Jai Hind. Namaskar.